On November 18th, we are going to go ahead and start the Land Use and Zoning Committee this evening with introductions to my left. And I know Councilmember Dunn, there he is, okay. You're good. Yes, sir, go for it.
Good afternoon, Rockland Johnson, District 14.
Good afternoon, Reginald Gaffney Jr., District 8.
The Beaches.
Good afternoon, Rory Diamond, District 13, The Beaches.
All right, Joe Carlucci, District 5.
Randy White, District 12. Mr. Chair, would you consider taking 11 and 12 up towards the front? I've got somebody with the audience that's got a conflict.
Yes, sir. We can do 11 and 12, and I know we're going to take one. We're also going to take up number 15. So I'll go through that through the kind of the as we roll through the agenda. Not full-blown agenda meeting, but anyways. Go ahead, Mr. Reingold.
Dylan Reingold with the Office of General Counsel.
Susan Kelly, Planning Department.
Aaron Abney, Planning Department.
Casey Cox, Planning Department.
All right. And I know we are going to be missing Councilmember Arias tonight. And is Councilmember Freeman coming? Where's Legislative Services?
That's an outrage.
No? Okay, so we're not gonna have Councilmember Freeman either. So just be aware, committee members, for quorum purposes. All right, so what we're gonna do this evening, we're gonna take up item number 1 first, item number 2 second, and then we will go to item where's those item number 11, 2025-751 will be number 3. Item 12, 2025-752, the companion will be number 4, and then we will go to number 15 as number 5. Yes, sir. And then we will go back to item number 3, which we'll have probably a lot more debate on. So, all right, so with that, we are ready to get this plane in the air. Item number 1, 2025-172. Let's open the public hearing and get staff report.
To the chair, before we get started with...
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, sir. First off, good evening, everybody. Pursuant to Council Rule 4.505, there are limitations on disruptions of meetings. So I'd like to read that to everybody. Any person who disrupts a regular meeting of the City Council, standing committees, or special or select committees, or any other public meeting presided by a council member may be forthwith barred, removed, or otherwise ejected in the discretion of the presiding officer from further attendance at that meeting. If necessary, due to the nature of the disruption, the audience may be cleared from the council chambers or meeting location in the discretion of the presiding officer. Any person who refuses to leave the city council chamber may be subject to arrest. Disruption of the meeting includes the following: any form of political campaigning or electioneering regarding a specific candidate or group of candidates in city elections, impeding the orderly progress of the meeting by stomping, yelling, whistling, chanting, singing, dancing, clapping, food stomping, snapping fingers, cheering, jeering, using artificial noisemakers or musical instruments, waving signs of any size, or engaging in any other display of excessive noise, sounds, or movement. 3, displaying or waving signs or any sort except where used to support the speaker's presentation at the podium and only where the sign is 21 inches by 21 inches or smaller in size and cannot be displayed in a manner which unreasonably obstructs the view from the dais for any member of the audience regardless of the message. Audible noise from cell phones or other electronic devices, consumption of alcohol or controlled substances, making vulgar or offensive remarks or gestures, or using threatening language or gestures, including but not limited to pantomiming, discharging a firearm, choking, or throat cutting. Or finally, refusing to stop speaking when his or her time is expired or is otherwise directed by the presiding officer to do so due to disruptive behavior as described herein. I will also add that during the public hearing portion of an agenda item, you will only have 3 minutes. So presentations must be focused and concise and should only address the item before us. If a speaker is repetitive or gets off topic, the speaker may be given a warning, and after a warning, a speaker is still repetitive and does not stay on topic, we may cut the speaker off. Finally, with regards to our quasi-judicial decisions tonight, Those must be based on substantial competent evidence, which means that the decision must be supported by fact-based testimony or expert testimony and not just on generalized concerns or opinions. And with that, I turn it back over to the chair.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Reingold. And thank you, audience. Sometimes we just got to set the ground rules clearly, and it's also on page 1 of the agenda. So if you wanted to reread that, you can. Shouldn't have any problems tonight, but we always have to set the appropriate ground rules. And before we get started, I do want to introduce our pages tonight. We have Alana Green. Go ahead and stand up. Wave for us. All right. And then we have Yashi Argawal. Stand up. And Alana is from Jack's Classical Academy, and Yashi is from Jack's Beach Elementary. And we thank you both for being here, and this is going to be a good meeting for you guys to help out with. So with that, we'll go into item number 1, 2025-172, open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Ordinance 2025-172 is for a land use amendment on approximately 3.91 acres at 3062 Sunnybrook Court, which is on the east side of Detroit Street. The applicant is requesting a change from low-density residential to medium-density residential to allow for multifamily housing. The site is in the urban priority area and is just north of Beaver Street, a minor arterial roadway. It has access to centralized water and wastewater services, as well as transit, and provides a logical extension of the MDR designation that abuts the site on the north. So for these reasons and those listed in the staff report, the Planning Department forwards you a recommendation of approval. The Planning Commission unanimously voted to approve the item at their November 6th meeting with a vote of 6-0 and no discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, we'll go to our speaker cards. First, we have the applicant, Cindy Trimmer.
Thank you so much. Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200 on behalf of the applicant. With regard to land use, you have CGC along Beaver, and then behind this site, you have MDR with an apartment complex. The request is to go from low-density residential to medium-density residential to allow for a townhome development to serve as a transition between the more intense uses on Beaver and that apartment complex behind it. With that, I'll stand by for questions.
All right, we have one more speaker card, Samantha Series.
Samantha Series, address on file. I don't really know if I'm fully...
Is the microphone on? We're having some people say they can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Okay, this one's not working.
There you go.
So push it away.
You're good.
Samantha Series, address on file. I'm not 100% opposed to this. I just wanted to bring up some concerns I had for the surrounding area. Although I'm not in the immediate area, I live 14 miles from here, just to make that clear. I wanted to just address the significant changes it appears to have. I know that it seems like there's some matching with the medium residential behind it, but you know, I looked at the maps on these roads, and I don't know if y'all use Google Maps to look, but it just seems like the streets themselves might not be able to handle this type of impact because it goes from 45 people to 122 people. It's about a 171% increase. So I just think that it's important to point that out, and I appreciate Cindy Trimmer being here for that. But, you know, obviously that's just a concern. I don't think I'm fully opposed. I just think it's something we should consider. Thank you.
All right, we have no other speaker cards, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Seeing no discussion or speakers, let's go ahead and open the ballot. Record your vote.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-172. Item number 2, 2025-173. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. All right, seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is the companion PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0173, which seeks to rezone approximately 3.91 acres from RLD 60 to a PUD to permit the development of 52 townhomes. You've seen this application before as it was a conventional rezoning to RMDD. This is back before you due to the change to a PUD. The change to PUD will limit the development to a maximum of 52 units. It also will require the development to provide an 8-foot tall fence along the uncomplimentary buffer areas, and it also will restrict access to Sunnybrook Court. So access to this subdivision will be strictly from Detroit Street. Staff has reviewed the request and finds that it meets the criteria in order to forward a recommendation of approval. We find that it is compatible with the surrounding area. In your agenda, you do have a revised Exhibit 3 and Exhibit 4, and then further analysis and details of the recommendation can be found in the staff report. Application was heard by Planning Commission on November 6th, where there were no speakers in opposition and little discussion amongst the commissioners, and they voted unanimously for approval.
All right, thank you. First speaker, Cindy Trimmer.
Thank you so much. Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200 on behalf of the applicant. Aaron stole our thunder. We did originally file as a conventional for the townhomes. We had 2 different weekend community meetings and talked through concerns that community had regarding drainage, traffic access, and just what the townhome development would look like. There were some concerns from the residents to the west that have the existing single-family subdivision that ends in a cul-de-sac. We agreed to cut off access to that single-family subdivision. We also agreed to raise the size of the fence along the single-family development that's in the northwestern corner of the development, and agreed to make sure that there was a sidewalk along the Detroit frontage. With that, I am available for questions.
All right, next speaker card, Samantha Series.
Samantha Series, address on file. I just wanted to come up since I did do a speaker card, but I have nothing to elaborate on because I do like the revised plan that they created. Thank you.
All right, we have no other speakers, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. We have an amendment. All right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Does anyone have any questions on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. No discussion. Open the ballot. Record your vote.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-173. We're going to now go to page 7, item 11, 2025-751. Open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. Ordinance 2025-751 is for a small-scale land use amendment for 3.99 acres located at 4065 McGill Road in the southeast quadrant of the intersection of Pritchard Road and McGill. The applicant is requesting a land use change from LDR, low-density residential, to neighborhood commercial, NC, in the suburban development area. Plan amendment requests for new NC designations are preferred in locations which are supplied with full urban services, which abut a roadway classified as a collector or higher, and which are compatible with adjacent residential neighborhoods. Sites with 2 or more property boundaries on transportation rights-of-way are considered preferred locations. The site is located at the corner of 2 transportation rights-of-way, McGill and Pritchard, and the majority of the site's frontage is along Pritchard Road, which is a minor arterial roadway. The site is served by Central Water and Sewer, and within about a 1-mile radius of the subject site, there is a diverse mix of land use categories. For these reasons, and as outlined in the staff report, the Planning Department forwards a recommendation of approval. At the November 6th Planning Commission meeting, there was 1 speaker in opposition to the proposed amendment. The Planning Commission voted to recommend approval with a vote of 6-0 and no discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. With that, we'll go first to the applicant, which marked questions only, Ms. Hips. And we have another speaker card, Sam Silcox, or William Silcox, does not wish to speak. And questions only, didn't check support or oppose. All right. And, okay, well, either way. And then the last speaker card, Samantha Series. If you wish to speak, come on down, state your name and address.
Samantha Series, address on file. Hi again. So I live 21 miles from this, so obviously I'm not in the neighborhood that it would be affected by, but I was just wondering if the applicant has reached out to the community, because the two scenarios that they give in the report seem very drastic, like drastically different, because in one scenario, it says that it could generate approximately 5,114 daily trips, representing a net increase of 4,941 daily trips. And then the scenario two, estimated 79 dwelling units could generate approximately 491 daily trips, representing an increase of 318 daily trips. I just feel that's a really big difference. So I'm not sure why we're giving the developers so much leeway. I think that it needs to be reined back a little. And I would just like to say, I mean, I think that, you know, the community neighborhood, commercial neighborhood is good. I think that's a great use of the land, but I worry that we're not understanding really what the applicant is going to be doing. And I'm not sure if the community themselves know. I know we put those little signs around, those orange signs that say public hearing, but if any layperson looks at that sign, do they really know what's going to be discussed in that hearing? When you're driving by, do you really see what it says on that sign? Not really. So I just want to know I just want to speak out for that community, even though, you know, I don't live there. I feel it's important to make sure we understand what's going on there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We have no other speaker cards, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Motion and a second on the bill. No discussion, no questions. Let's open the ballot, record your vote.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
All right, item 2025-751 is approved. Item number 12, 2025-752. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Seeing none. Oh, you got some? Councilmember White? All right, Councilmember White, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. I'll collect ex parte. I spoke about 2 weeks ago to Mr. Silcox. I had some questions. He answered them, and everything's been filed with Legislative Services.
All right, thank you, sir. Now we'll open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. 2025-752 seeks to rezone 3.99 acres of land from RR Acre to CN to permit low-intensity commercial uses. The property is located at the southeast corner of McGill Road and Pritchard Road. Staff finds that the proposed rezoning furthers the goals and objectives of the 2045 comprehensive plan, and given the low intensity of the CN zoning district, is compatible and supports the surrounding neighborhood. For those reasons and those in the staff report, we forward a recommendation of approval. This item was heard at the November 6th Planning Commission meeting. There was one speaker in opposition, a neighbor along McGill Road, that cited concerns related to additional traffic and noise associated with the future commercial uses. The commission voiced no concerns and voted unanimously for approval.
Okay, thank you so much. With that, we'll go to our speakers. We have Ms. Hips, does not wish to speak. Questions only. In support, Mr. William Silcox. In support, questions only. And then Samantha Series, come on down.
Samantha Series, address on file. Me again. Again, just want to say that I'm opposed to this. I have concerns about that neighborhood and if it can handle that type of rezoning. I know which way it's going to go, but just wanted to put on the record it's opposed. Thank you.
All right. We have no other speaker cards. Let's close the public hearing and bring back to committee. All right. We have a motion and a second on the bill. No discussion. Let's open the ballot. Record your votes.
Five yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-752. Item number 15, 2025-755. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Anybody? Yep. Councilmember Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you. I had a few questions. Obviously, it's in my district, and I reached out to Mr. Harden. We spoke last week. Those things are being filed with Legislative Services. Thank you.
All right. No other ex parte, so let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0755, which is seeking to rezone 6.45 acres from a PUD that was approved in 2023 to a new PUD to add additional uses, which would include a service station, oil change facility, and auto laundry. The submitted site plan depicts that the proposed build-out of parcel 4 would include approximately 5,500 square feet of a commercial development for an express oil change and full-service auto care facility. No other changes are proposed than what exists currently under the PUD's entitlements on the property today. Property is located at the intersection of Old Middleburg Road and Collins Road, which are both classified as minor arterial roadways with high capacity to handle commercial development. This section of roadway is currently operating at 63% capacity, and the proposed use would only generate an additional 387 daily trips. The property is located just north of Oakleaf PUD, which allows for a wide variety of commercial uses. We find that the request is consistent with the comp plan and meets the internal and external criteria, so therefore we forward a recommendation of approval. The application was heard by Planning Commission on November 6th. There were no speakers in opposition and little discussion amongst the commissioners, and they voted unanimously for approval.
Okay, thank you so much. We have one speaker, Mr. Paul Harden. Yes, sir.
I'll just hear for questions.
Okay, we have no other speaker cards. Let's close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Motion and second on the bill. Seeing no discussion, open the ballot, record your vote.
Four yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have approved 2025-755. All right. With that, we will go ahead and move on back to item number 3 of the agenda, page 3. Real quick. Hold on one second. Yeah, Miss Jackie, come see me real quick. We want to... Okay, cool. We just want to make sure District Councilman and Council President Carrico was here before we started on this one, although we do have a lot of speaker cards. So, anyways, with that, the first item is the land use, 2025-484. Let's go ahead and open the public hearing and get a staff report. 487, sorry.
Ordinance 2025-487 is for a small-scale land use amendment at 11153 Beach Boulevard between Cortez Road and DeSalvo Road at the boundary between the urban and suburban development areas. The subject site consists of one parcel. The entire parcel is approximately 6.84 acres, but only 2.29 acres of the parcel is subject to the proposed land use amendment. The site has a split land use designation of both CGC, which is Community General Commercial, and LDR, Low Density Residential. The site is currently home to a commercial shopping center, including an international market. The applicant seeks to expand the shopping center, resulting in the requested land use amendment, which would change the current LDR and CGC land use designations such that the entirety of their parcel is CGC, with approximately 0.91 of an acre of light industrial along the center of the western boundary, internal to the site and surrounded by commercial, the commercial designation. The subject site fronts Beach Boulevard, which is a major commercial corridor and state road. Uses along this stretch of Beach Boulevard are diverse and include fast food restaurants, large shopping centers, gas stations, indoor recreation, grocery stores, medical offices, and a personal self-storage establishment, among other uses. CGC is the primary land use designation along the Beach Boulevard corridor. The site has access to both a collector road, which is Cortez Road, and an FDOT principal arterial road, which is Beach Boulevard. These road classifications are preferred for both LI and CGC land use categories. The site is served by full urban services, including centralized water and sewer connections, as well as the JTA's bus rapid transit service. So for these reasons and others outlined in the staff report, the Planning Department forwards a recommendation of approval. The Planning Commission heard this item at their November 6th meeting and approved it with a vote of 6-0 and 1 abstention. Several speakers were in opposition, but the commission had limited discussion regarding the land use application specifically. More substantial discussion was had with regards to the companion PUD rezoning request. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Reingold, if you can, please just put us in the posture because we have a lot of cards here for the land use. So just briefly kind of explain what we need to hear from the audience on their cards regarding land use and what isn't permissible or admissible.
Thank you to the chair and to the committee as a whole and to the audience. First off, just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Yes, many of you probably attended the Planning Commission hearing the other day. In the Planning Commission process, they tend to group their hearings together. So the land use and zoning, here they are two separate hearings. So we are on the land use request right now. Thus, we're not able to take any evidence or any issues about the specifics of the zoning, the written description, the site plan, and the like. The conversation at this point should be focused and directed on the request for the land use to go to the light industrial and the general commercial industrial requests. And with that, I turn it back over to the chair.
All right, thank you so much. And as you see fit, just kind of remind us as we go along. So with that, we will have the applicant, Ms. Cindy Trimmer, 5 minutes. And we want to welcome Council President Carrico. Thank you for joining us tonight, sir. Your old stomping grounds. Go ahead, Ms. Trimmer.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200 on behalf of the applicant. I do have the owners here with me this evening. The original request on this property. Can you hear me? The microphones do sound weird from down here today.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
The property that exists today has split land use and zoning in an area that has a very broad mix of land use categories. There's CGC, LI, BP, RPI, LDR, and then if you look at the second page I showed you with the corresponding zoning, there's CCG2, CCG1, CRO, CO, IL, IBP, PUDs, and then residential categories. I also included on the third page an aerial showing that less than half of this existing site that they own is currently developed with about a 60,000 square foot mixed use facility. The original impetus behind the filing was to request that they be able to expand on their existing site. So they want to include in their shopping center an additional 54,000 square feet that would have a mix of retail, restaurants, service establishments, including warehousing, storage. They also did originally have in their request for animal processing on site that would include the killing of live animals. After lots of extensive meetings and discussion, they have removed any live animals from this application. So what's in front of you today no longer includes that. I will state it repeatedly so we're all clear. But the request for CGC and IL on this site is completely consistent with the mix of uses you have all up and down Beach Boulevard in that immediate vicinity. And those commercial and industrial uses already exist there today. And if you look at the map and you zoom out, you'll see that those uses all up and down Beach Boulevard extend way further north and further south into the surrounding area than what's proposed here with this site. So with that, I know there are comments. I will stand by for questions and not use all of the time right now.
All right. First speaker card, Kathleen Pereira, followed by Blake Harper, and then Carla Looney, and then Catherine Del Rey. If y'all can, please come down to the front. We have reserved seats for those names. 1 second. Yeah, Ms. Pereira. So Blake Harper and Carla Looney, Catherine Del Rey, and Carolyn Hughes. If you'll come down to the front so we can get through these cards in an efficient manner. Yes, go ahead, Ms.
My name is Kathleen Pereira, and this neighborhood's very close to mine. My information's on file. We do not want to add the Cortez Road neighborhood to the list of other failed neighborhoods whose concerns were ignored by the city, all in the name of increased tax revenue. This is especially egregious when Ordinance 487 will give more weight to the interests of only one business owner over those of a well-established neighborhood. 487 could allow this lone business owner to build right up to their property line, which will aggressively encroach upon the Cortez Road residential neighborhood and disturbs its peace and vista. Actually, the CRO properties are designed as transition from commercial to residential, and this ordinance is abusing the land codes. This is encroachment on Arlington's revitalization efforts. Where are the buffer zones? Vote no.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Blake Harper.
Blake Harper, information on file. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, Chairman. I'm going to be speaking. I'm going to bringing back to everybody's attention legislative history about how City Council has addressed the matter of encroachment. Encroachment deals not only with the land use, but also the zoning. This specific site they tried back in 2015 for over a year to change this to a thrift store and a warehouse for a community hospice in Northeast Florida. Think about what a warehouse for a community hospice in Northeast Florida would be compared to what the anticipated use of this warehouse would be. By the way, I object to the fact that this bait and switch in terms of the land use and zoning at the last minute that the community hasn't had an adequate time to respond. However, getting back to this, when you look at what a warehouse is with regards to a hospice versus a warehouse for this meat processing, or whatever you want to call it, completely different profiles. One has a completely different environmental risk than the other. One has a completely different method of operation. One's going to be completely different in terms of sound and everything. But if you look, the second page is the actual agenda item from June of 2016. At the bottom, you'll see LUZ voted 7-0 against rezoning this and making this a warehouse for the community hospice of Northeast Florida. Folks, this is encroachment. This is the worst thing you can do as far as zoning goes. It destroys neighborhoods. It creates safety and crime issues. The fact that they were putting a building up immediately proximate to a residential structure is absolutely absurd. Again, what they're doing is they want to take a residential neighborhood, a residential zoning, and put it to commercial. It's one thing if it's going to be incremental towards something of a residential nature, but they want to make it commercial. This is a classic and extreme case of encroachment. You are damaging this neighborhood and you're creating a terrible precedent for the city of Jacksonville going forward, where you have situations where you have neighborhoods next to commercial areas. You can't do this. 10 years ago, there was a 1-year fight on this. City Council has an established history of not doing this. You have to turn this down. You have to protect the city of Jacksonville. You have to protect the homeowners. You have to protect the tax base. That's what this is all about.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harper. Next, we have Carla Looney. Okay. She's opposed, does not wish to speak. Catherine Del Rey. And then, before you get started, Ms. Carolyn Hughes, do you wish to speak? Okay. And then we have Richard Hughes, if y'all want to come on down to the front seats. And then we have Brett Burton, and then Shannon Peters, if y'all will come down to the front seats, that would be great. Ms. Del Rey, you're recognized.
I'm Catherine Del Rey, and my address is on file. The zoning laws are in place to preserve the property values, lifestyle, and ecosystem of the area, demanding safe, sound, sanitary, and efficient housing. All the additional truck traffic would further congest Beach Boulevard and the surrounding streets, posing safety risks. I feel that the members must ask themselves, what is the justification for this zoning change? Is the welfare of the current property owners under consideration? I oppose this and I ask you to vote no.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, we have Carolyn Hughes.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me speak to you. I'm very concerned about this request. As was previously stated, this has been tried before and was found to be not desirable. If you vote for this, you are voting to expand large truck usage of our roads. You're destroying a part of the wetlands, which we value, even if you don't. You destroy the current buffer between business and residential. The trees that are there would be cut down for building. Those trees provide a buffer. You would add to the noise and you would add to the traffic. Finally, well, it's not actually finally, it goes against the residents' wishes, and they should count for something, especially when you're affecting the peaceful coexistence of a neighbor next to this mess that's going to occur if you allow it to. And if you zone this industrial or commercial completely, you are going to open it up. And once it's opened, you can't close that door, at least not that I know of. This zoning would go against a unanimous vote in 2016 when this was tried by hospice. And I protested at that time against that as well. It was recognized that it would be harmful to the neighborhood. Can you honestly say anything has changed from 2016 to 2025? The presentation that you've been given would imply that we're a heavily commercial area already. That's on the frontage of Beach Boulevard. There's a difference between Beach Boulevard and Cortez Road. What has already been changed to commercial, that those heavy trucks coming in there affect us already. What will happen if you do this? Thank you.
Okay, next we have Richard Hughes.
Thank you. Any rezoning should be for the betterment of the community, not for its detriment. And this rezoning would be to the detriment.
Are you speaking on the land use? You need your name and address
Richard
and also
Hughes,
speak to the land use, not the zoning. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, am I talking about the wrong thing? Well, Richard Hughes.
Go ahead.
12161 Rockford Lane. So am I talking about the wrong issue right now?
If you're speaking to the zoning, yes, sir. You do have another card for the zoning. This is just for the land use.
Okay.
Do you want to speak to the zoning?
I'm opposed to it being used for a warehouse.
Okay, okay. Next, we have Mr. Brett Burton.
I'm going to speak on 48.
Okay, you're going to go to the zoning. Got it. Thank you. And we have Shannon Peters.
The Marine right there.
Purple Heart. Yeah. Marine.
Hi, I'm Shannon Peters. Yep. Address is on file. First of all, I'd like to say it's been kind of a wild week. We were told they were dropping both things. We waited, we kept our eye on it. And all of a sudden we're here again. And I would like to put it up, like, is there a way that our neighborhood can ask for a time to take a breath and really see what's being proposed here? Because even just hearing Cindy just talk right now, I'm not completely sure what's being proposed here. And what, if anything, we should be against, or how, like it seems fair if they're able to ask for deferment so many times to get their stuff in line, that we should be able to get some time to really see what's going on and being offered for our neighborhood. First of all, getting back to the subject, changing the land use from low density residential and commercial to light industrial. In the Flum report, page 113, it says industrial uses are generally considered to be the most likely to create unacceptable impacts on residential areas. You're taking a buffer zone that is zoned residential up against other residentials and wanting to put it up into light industrial. Section 2.24 of the comprehensive plan discusses protecting residential areas from encroachment by incompatible land uses through proper zoning. Yes, this is just a small section of land. However, that's how it starts. Approving this amendment would set a precedent in our residential neighborhood of businesses acquiring residential properties and seeking to amend those land uses as well. And then where does it stop? And that's a serious question. If the other residential properties abutting this property were to want to sell because of this happening, what's the chances of them getting approved for commercial or light industrial? And then the one next to them, and the one next to them. Because it's a very real possibility in our neighborhood. And this is encroachment. You can look at down the street, there's other zoning. On our street, there's not other industrial zoning. And the commercial uses do not go deep off of Beach Boulevard. You're getting to residential very quickly, and you're getting to people's homes and livelihoods very quickly. And again, I would like to ask for a little bit more time. Thank you.
All right. Will the following speakers please come down to the front? We have Samantha Series, Brett Goddard, Annie Kirby, G.R. Cheshire, and Lisa Ellen Dernberger, and Kirsten Brewer. And Samantha Series, you are up. The rest of you, if you'll please come down if you wish to speak to the land use, that'd be great.
Samantha Series, address on file. The land use amendment would change the land use to light industrial. The property to the north is zoned residential. The new land use would not be compatible with the adjacent residential neighborhoods. This development would negatively impact property values because of the butchering. Well, I'm confused about the no live animals now, but I guess we'll find out more information about that. The development will detract from the quality of life in the adjacent neighborhoods by creating excessive noise, and there will be increased traffic. The neighborhoods are concerned about the different runoff into their wells and the contamination to the water supply. The first goal mentioned in the 2045 comprehensive plan is to ensure that the character and location of land uses optimize the combined potentials for economic benefit, enjoyment, wellness, and protection of natural resources while minimizing the threat to health, safety, and welfare posed by hazards, nuisances, incompatible land uses, and environmental degradation. I believe that this would negatively impact the area and would be in direct conflict with the 2045 comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Next, we have Brett Goddard.
Good evening. Brett Goddard, 541 Oleander Street, Neptune Beach. Since both the Planning Department and the Planning Commission failed to do their jobs to protect the citizens of Jacksonville from an incompatible and highly objectionable use, I guess it's your job now. I strongly urge you to vote no on both the applications. It is difficult to separate the two applications tonight in different speeches. I will try. In the past week, we have been told from numerous sources that the slaughterhouse has been removed from the application for rezoning, yet here we are again fighting it. If the slaughterhouse has in fact been removed from the application, why does the applicant still seek a rezoning? That would place a 30,000 square foot light industrial island in the middle of a commercial general zoning and next to residential zoning, unless they plan to come back later and seek the slaughterhouse in the now compatible light industrial zoning. If they don't need this zoning with an LI component in it if all they want to do is dress up the market and build another commercial general use next to it, as we have heard before. They can do it pretty. They can make it pretty without this rezoning. What other possible reason could the applicant have for requesting an LI parcel in the middle of a CGC2 zoning if not to place an objectionable use on the property at some future date? As I noted at the Planning Commission meeting, this is exactly why we have zoning, to stop objectionable uses from being placed where they do not belong. Please respect the current zoning and listen to the overwhelming majority of the citizens of Jacksonville who do not want a slaughterhouse or this rezoning to happen, and deny both applications. Thank you.
All right. Hello. All right. Next we have Annie Kirby.
Thank you. My name is Annie Kirby. I live in the Jacksonville, Arlington area, and I'm opposed to the rezoning or the change of the land use for both ordinances. I'd like you to vote no against it, and there's a number of reasons why. And again, I reiterate that it's difficult to divorce one issue, the rezoning, from the land use. I think that they are overlap significantly. However, I'll try to do my best. First of all, the Cortez residential community is closely adjacent to the property in question. Obviously, there's going to be increased noise, increased traffic. We think that that's going to be detrimental to the complexion of that community. Studies have been conducted that demonstrate that the value of homes deteriorates when they are adjacent to this type of property, being light industrial property. There is significant opposition from the community, and this has been consistent since this issue has been brought up. We think that you should pay significant attention to that. And irrespective to the property use, the rezoning request needs to be denied in order to protect the boundary neighborhood, the Cortez neighborhood, from encroachment. In this regard, City Council has established a record of protecting neighborhoods from encroachment. You have precedents to fall back on. I encourage you to do so. Whether the issue is a slaughterhouse or changing the zoning or land use to light industrial, it's going to negatively impact the residential community. You have witnessed the community outrage proposed because of the proposed use of the change in land use and the change in rezoning. Now you are considering rezoning this particular property, and I believe that you are circumventing the wishes of the taxpayers in that community and the people that dwell in that residential community on Cortez. So I would encourage you please to vote no against both ordinances. Thank you.
Next we have G.R. Cheshire.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to me today. I live at 2929 Cortez Road. I've lived there since October of 2000. It seems like every few years it comes up, somebody's come up with a new trick to rezone that area down there and encroach upon our residential area. 2015, the Land Use Committee voted 7-0. No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to encroach on the residential neighborhoods around there. Now it seems like somebody's come up with another twist on the fact. Let's twist the words around. Let's do it a little bit different. Let's spin the record the other way. And that's what I'm opposed to. I'm urging you to vote no on both amendments.
All right. Next, we have Lisa Ellen Dernberger. And before you get started, the following speakers are next: Kirsten Brewer, Kathleen Murray, Claudette Falkenbury, Melvin Peepers, and Shannon Blair. If y'all will please come down to the front row in the reserved seats, that would be great. Go ahead, you're recognized.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Ellen Dernberger, and my address is on file. I oppose Ordinance 2025-0487, a fundamentally inappropriate and disconcerting transformation of land use. First, this proposal runs directly counter to the city's own 2045 comprehensive plan. Under that plan, our land use categories are deliberately tiered. CGC supports commercial activity serving neighborhood and community needs. LDR supports residential character. LI is reserved for industrial uses that, by design, should produce minimal impacts. Moving residential or commercial property into light industrial is not the gradual transition the plan anticipates. Rather, it is a jarring leap, one that undermines Policy 1.1.7 of the Future Land Use Element, which explicitly calls for gradual transition of densities and intensities through development review. The proposed redesignation fails to respect that carefully balanced intent. Second, the developer's justification for this land use change rested heavily on the activity of live animal processing, a slaughterhouse. Yet the companion rezoning bill 2025-0488 appear to be amending out that very use. Removing the live processing component destroys the fundamental public purpose that motivated this land use change. Without it, what remains is simply industrial zoning grafted onto residential and commercial land, with no real public benefit and no alignment with the comprehensive plan's goal to protect residential neighborhoods. Finally, the small-scale amendment sets an alarming precedent, using PUDs as a backdoor to convert residential or community-focused land into industrial land, circumventing long-standing zoning and undermining community trust. The comprehensive plan is the contract between the city government and its residents. We should not allow it to be rewritten to favor a specific property owner's agenda, especially one that will potentially open code compliance enforcement issues for the actual use of the property once the change is made. I respectfully urge you to deny the Ordinance 2025-0487 and preserve the integrity of both our land use framework and our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Kirsten Brewer.
Hi. Hello. My name is Kirsten Brewer, and 2920 Cortez Road. Thank you. I'll pull this down. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. And everything that was said, I'm not going to repeat, but just a reminder about Cortez Road. It's very unique. You mentioned, or the attorney mentioned, the land usage on Beach Boulevard for other areas. But I would say Cortez Road is not like other areas. Again, we're on Wells. The first house was built in 1925, 100 years ago. This is an old neighborhood. We're on a very narrow road. We've talked about this in the past with ditches on both sides. When it rains, it floods. When it floods, the entire wetlands remain underwater. That area where they want to build is also underwater. There are multiple issues. One of the things is Beach Boulevard, and I believe I read in the report it's at 103% capacity. So again, the more we keep building and building, it just keeps creating issues. As you approach 295 heading west on Beach Boulevard, multiple potholes. Like you have to avoid these potholes unless you want to mess the alignment up. These potholes have been there now for months. There was an article that came out last week on the potholes in Jacksonville. We already are having issues with the roadways. This is just going to add to it, more traffic. There are issues, as I've addressed before, really going from Beach Boulevard into APNA, backs up, but also Cortez Road is the corner store literally is just feet from the intersection of Beach Boulevard. When people want to turn into the corner store, it literally backs up the turn lane on Beach Boulevard. You would not be able to proceed without massive gridlock. So all the reasons that have already been mentioned, I think validate and enforce why we do not need this encroachment in our neighborhood. It's been brought up before, and I hope that you will consider and really do the work. I've heard ex parte everywhere, but we haven't declared ex parte. We've spoken with no one. There were a couple of gentlemen that had visited, even the slaughterhouse, and talked about it. Come to our homes and I'll take you to the wetlands and show you, not to mention, as we've mentioned, animals. There's just so many issues. Please consider everything that you're hearing and stand with the citizens, because it's not just Cortez Road. We have formed multiple relationships with multiple neighborhoods, and I think it's an ongoing issue everywhere in Jacksonville. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Next we have Kathleen Murray.
Good evening. Kathleen Murray, State Education Director for Citizens Defending Freedom. Address on file. CDF is here today to raise concerns regarding the appearance of bias and potential conflicts of interest surrounding the business applicant in this matter. Several council members have participated in private social activities, gatherings, and informal meetings hosted by the applicant's restaurant. Additionally, it is publicly known that the applicant has a personal relationship and cultural connection with Jaguars owner Shad Khan, as they come from the same village. While personal friendships are not illegal, they can create a perception that certain council members may not be able to be fully impartial when voting on this issue. Public trust depends not only on actual fairness, but also on the appearance of fairness. CDF would also like to express concern about the information shared with the public regarding the status of the application. Members of the community were led to believe that the applicant had withdrawn the application. This understanding came in part from statements made by council members Carrico and Diamond. However, it now appears that the application was not withdrawn, but instead amended. This discrepancy has caused confusion and has undermined confidence that the public is being provided with complete and accurate information. For these reasons, CDF respectfully requests that any council members who have engaged in private or extracurriculars, social activity with the applicant, or who maintain close personal relationships that could reasonably be perceived as influencing the decision, voluntarily recuse themselves from this vote. Furthermore, CDF urges the council to ensure that all future communications about applications, amendments, or withdrawals are clear, accurate, and transparent to avoid misunderstanding among residents. The people of Jacksonville deserve a process that is not only fair, but clearly fair. CDF most strongly urges you to vote no on both 2025-0487 and 0488. Thank you in advance for your consideration.
Thank you. Claudette Falconberry.
Hello, my name is Claudette DuPont Falconberry. I'm here as a homeowner representing these homeowners, even though I live in Neptune Beach.
Can you state your address, please?
Claudette.
Your address?
2016 Shadow Lane.
Thank you.
Neptune Beach. The people who bought this property knew that it was zoned the way it was. So in their minds, they probably said, well, we'll just change the zoning. To heck with the neighborhood. I represent these homeowners. These people bought their homes. They had to struggle to buy their homes, some of them decades ago, okay? What you're going to do if you allow this land use change, will decimate them financially. It makes me want to cry. You're going to decimate them, guys. I don't even know with common sense why I'm here even begging for them. But this is a huge change. Jacksonville is the largest landmass in the entire country. They can go anywhere in the city of Jacksonville and put this facility and then bring the animals in that are already slaughtered and sacrificed or whatever. There's no need to do this. What's to keep Smithfield hams from coming in the future and saying, hell, we've got this, let's put one in here. Already there, let's set the precedent. Precedents mean a lot in court. We're seeing it now across our country. It's always a precedent this, a precedent that. Everything sets a precedent. This is going to set a precedent, you guys. And I'm here begging you to vote no on both 487, 488. Zoning, landmass, whatever, it's all the same. But keep that in mind when you vote. You're going to kill these people financially. Nobody will want to live there. Would you want to buy there? Would you want to buy their home? Any of them? No. May God be with you.
All right, next we have Melvin Peepers.
Good evening. I'm Melvin Peepers. My address is on file. I just want to go on the record, say that I'm opposed to the encroachment that this rezoning or this amendment will entail on the residential areas. The character of the city council over the years has been to protect residential areas, and that the character and values appears to be changing. Again, we object to this change. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. And next we have Shannon Blair. And if the following speakers will come down, Lori Cruden, James Crunden, and then Jeremiah Dernberger and Rebecca Moran. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening, council members. My name is Shannon Blair, and my address is on file. I'm a Florida resident who cares very deeply about my fellow human beings, the welfare and rights of animals, and the planet that we all share. And I'm here today because I've watched this community work tirelessly to protect the integrity, safety, and character of their neighborhoods, first on the north side and now on the south side. And tonight I'm asking you to deny item 0487. At this point, I don't really know what to believe. Mohammed Faisal promised me outside that he does not plan to do the things that I've heard that he does still. I definitely don't believe anything that comes out of Cindy Trimmer's mouth because she has lied over and over again to the media, to the public, and to commissioners right in front of my face.
Let's stick to the land use, please. Thank you.
Item 0487 may seem technical, just a change to the future land use map, but it carries very real and permanent consequences. This is a big power move, and if approved, the land becomes eligible for industrial operations forever. If approved, it would convert low-density residential and community general commercial parcels into light industrial and expanded commercial use. And once land is designated light industrial, that change is effectively permanent. You're not going to be able to undo it once you open the door. This applicant's tried to present the rezoning package as a small local project, but what the future land use management amendment actually does is unlocks the level of intensity and industrial activity that's never belonged in this neighborhood. Light industrial zoning is not a minor adjustment. It'll allow warehousing, processing, distribution, industrial truck traffic is going to be here, as you've heard from other residents, and activities far beyond a simple grocery store or retail operation. Nothing about light industrial zoning is compatible with the surrounding homes, families, companion animals, schools, and the daily life that the residents here have chosen. Jacksonville's comp plan is clear. Land use changes must support orderly growth, compatibility, and protection of residential character. This amendment fails all three. The Planning Commission's non-approval of item 0488, the part of this proposal that would have immediately allowed on-site slaughtering or butchering, proves that this plan already conflicts with the established planning principles. You can't detach the two from each other. They were designed to work together. So if 0488 was wrong for the neighborhood, then the industrial enabling mechanism behind it, this 0487, is also wrong for the community and inappropriate. So approving it today would mean that you're handing a light industrial designation to an owner who's not earned the trust of the community, whose plans have shifted repeatedly, and whose operations raise serious concerns about transparency and oversight. I have a 48-page report in my hands that was given to our Orange County Sheriff's Office after a 3-month undercover investigation was done at Ally Meats, the facility that Commissioners McGowan and Garrison visited.
Thank you, ma'am. Excuse me. Thank you, ma'am. All right, next we have Lori Crunden.
Hi, my name is Lori Crunden. My address is on record. I understand the zoning board recommended approval, but would it be too much to ask what they based their approval on? I don't see any positive effects that a slaughterhouse would have on a neighboring community. It just doesn't make sense that the LUZ would deny a zoning change for a hospice facility, but would approve a facility where they will slaughter up to 72 animals a day.
Ma'am, sorry, through the chair.
Go ahead.
First up, just let's focus on the land use, just general light industrial and general commercial type uses. That's
Okay.
all. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I would like to know, I mean, I don't know if we could ever get that information, but what positive parts, what were the positives of letting them change the zoning? I mean, I think I know the answer to it, and I think it starts with dollar signs. I think somebody's getting paid off for, approving this change. And if this was in your neighborhood, would you still be willing to grant the rezoning? My guess is no. Even if the price was right, you would not approve this zoning change. I was at the meeting a couple of weeks ago where there was an overwhelming number of people opposed to granting the zoning change to LI1. As a matter of fact, the only people supporting the land use change were the ones that were getting paid. So I urge you to deny any request for substitution or amendment of 2025-0487. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next we have James Grunden.
Good evening. James Grunden, address on file. To the chair and to the council, appreciate this opportunity. I couldn't help but notice the pendulum swings both ways. Many of us remember what money and power did when a subdivision like Little Old Queens Harbor went in, and the developer thought arrogantly that his money and power allowed him to cut into our intercoastal. But no, Department of Environmental Protection stepped up, said you did not do the proper procedure to do that. Well, the rest of the city council may know, and some of the audience may know, that I think it bankrupted at least one developer and maybe two. They had to have a system of locks built for the filth and the runoff from golf courses into our intercoastal. If this was a sea turtle or seagrass, I'll bring it down a little bit. Let's forget about my free speech. Let's just talk about that then, all right? One of our elected officials said, you won't know what hit you. You've released a whirlwind. You'll pay the price. What is happening to this little community, this little neighborhood in the largest landmass city in the continental United States is not going unheard and unseen by the rest of the country. How you react, what you are, speaks so loudly I can't hear what you say. Everybody before me was way more eloquent. I didn't hear about the fact that it was turned down for a hospice center. That wouldn't have been high traffic. The land use of this should not be built to what it was. Let's go to the values thing, because it's all about the dollars and cents. It's a black and white issue. So the Sunshine State wants to keep property values up. Certainly you do in your neighborhood, and I'd like that. We don't have covenants or restrictions, but if we did, the neighbors pull together and do that. Don't make it political. I certainly won't bring religion into the mix, because God forbid, we're one nation under God. I would tell you that I wouldn't deny my love of the Lord and Savior and my relationship with him, but I would not be a man if I didn't stand up for this little neighborhood and say, this is wrong. And for us, it looked like smoke and mirrors. Nope, he's withdrawn it. It's a done deal. All of a sudden, certain caveats, and what are you doing? How are you doing it? What's going on? Keep in mind, the pendulum swings both ways. It used to be that we respected and honored the government and felt like they were taking care of our best interests. Now, since the plague hit and we saw how big government acted and how even local government acted, we kind of have the blinders have fallen off. The scales have fallen off our eyes. And we see it's about Benjamins, dollars and cents and power. And it looks corrupt as all get out. Thank you.
All right, next we have Jeremiah Dernberger. Yeah, go ahead and pass those out. That's totally fine.
Okay, Jeremiah Dernberger, address on file. What I have left there at the podium is a petition that 107 residents of Jacksonville, in less than 24 hours, we have gathered 107 signatures for citizens that says, we, the undersigned petitioners, say no to the rezoning, the land use and rezoning, and proposed ordinances 2025-0487 and 2025-0488. We encourage the members of the LUZ to vote no on both proposed ordinances and ask the applicant to withdraw the application as they promised. And so this just, again, you've heard from all of my neighbors, from all of the speakers that have come up here, why over and over again this land use amendment is encroachment. It does several things that do not follow the comprehensive plan and would set a very bad precedent. So, and there's 107 people here that have signed this that agree with that. And I would definitely, I'm very curious to know the numbers of emails and phone calls that you all have received on this issue. As I know, I believe Planning Commission had well over, I think I heard 14,000 at one point. And so overwhelmingly, the community says no, and we ask you to join with us and to ensure that this encroachment does not happen at the same site that previously the City Council has done to ensure that that did not happen there. And protect the neighborhood, protect the residents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next we have Rebecca Moran, and the rest of the speakers said they don't wish to speak. Okay. Ms. Moran is not wanting to speak but is opposed, and then the following speakers also marked that they do not wish to speak but are opposed as well. Don Heron, Donna Warpool, Candia Peepers, Margaret Latimer, Betty Hayes, Francis McLeod, Brandon Shoemaker, Jessica Schumacher, maybe that was it. Kim Oliver? I don't know. What? Yeah. Michelle, oh, this is, okay. Oliveri, John Brewer, Deanna Adamson, Lance Labonte, Sean Francis, and Joel Looney, all oppose and do not wish to speak. Ms. Trimmer, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200. Last Wednesday, in advance of the council meeting, we did advise council president and the district councilman for this area that we were withdrawing the request for live animal processing on this site. And we submitted a revised PUD that eliminated all of those uses from the pending applications. At no time did we say we were withdrawing the applications in their entirety. I understand there might be some confusion based on things that have been out in the media and on social media, but that is not a representation that this team made. The residential portion on the back of this site is not developable for residential use, and it makes a portion of this site that exists today not developable. There was an application that was filed back in 2015 that included additional land. It included the 3180, I believe that's the address that's to the east of here, that is the one residential house that does abut this property. And that was for BP and IBP. There was a staff recommendation of approval. There was a unanimous recommendation of approval at Planning Commission, and it did fail at Council. But again, that was for more land, and it was for a different land use category and a different zoning. The land use amendment and the companion rezoning that's before you today will allow the owner to develop this site in a manner that is completely consistent with the surrounding area. The pattern of development in this area does include expanding uses further back north of Beach Boulevard. This body just approved another amendment that went to BP and IBP in 2024 that is further north than what is being proposed here. The light industrial that's on this site is completely interior to the site. It does not abut any of the surrounding residential uses. The only uses that are against residential are CGC. CGC abuts residential all up and down our commercial corridors that are like Beach Boulevard. The expansion, if you look at the maps, does not extend any further north than the non-residential uses that are already running up Cortez to the east. And the small additional area that's kind of a flag on the northwest corner abuts CGC that's already there to the west. And again, there are light industrial and industrial business park uses that are extending even further north than that. So it doesn't extend as far as what is already in the area today. We will stand by for questions. Thank you.
All right, with that, we have no other speaker cards. So with that, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. So we just need a motion on the land use bill, right? Okay, we need a motion in a second so we can discuss. Okay, motion in a second for discussion.
I didn't make a motion yet. My motion was to amend to deny.
Oh, okay. So let's go through the queue. He didn't get a second. So let's just go through the queue, hear the speakers, and then we'll go from there. So Councilman Gaffney, you're recognized.
Thank you, through the chair. I'll be brief. I just want to get a better understanding of this legislation. So I guess what we have before us is the applicant want to change this piece of land to commercial and industrial, correct? Okay. I guess, Ms. Trimmer, if you could come up. I got a couple of questions for you. I just need a better understanding. What's the plan with the commercial piece of the property?
We have site plans.
Through the chair. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Through the chair. We have site plans that we can go into more detail on the PUD, but the intent is to expand the uses that exist on the site today and to add storage and warehousing. If you look at one of the aerials of the site, you can see that there's kind of some storage areas and it's outdoor and it's not aesthetically pleasing. They want to be able to have everything interior to the site and be able to use part of the site for warehousing. And previously there had been a request for live animals, but that is removed from the application.
Okay. So under the through the chair, under the commercial piece of the legislation, it'll be used for storage. You said
the CGC portions of the site have retail, restaurants, shops, traditional commercial uses.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about the industrial?
Storage and warehousing, which generates less traffic than commercial, which is why we didn't amend the whole thing to commercial. Frankly, if the request is to amend the entire site to commercial and not have that industrial piece, that's something we could do. It would require deferring and new noticing and changing it. But that area generates less traffic than just having full commercial.
I think I'm more open to that. I mean, I want to listen to my colleagues and see what they have to say and listen to the district councilman for this district. But the residents, from what I understand, they seem a bit confused, I guess, between this week and last week. So just a lot of misunderstanding between what you guys are doing. So
through the chair, the uses that are proposed in front of you today are completely consistent with what has been before this body since August. The site plans that we've shared, that we've put out, that they've put out in the news and the media, everything about that's the same. The original request had a small 3,000 square foot area that would have had live animals. That 3,000 square foot area is now removed from the project. That is the only change.
Okay.
Everything is completely consistent with what has been in front of this body since the application was originally filed otherwise.
All right, thank you. I stand by and listen to my colleagues.
All right. Council President Carrico, you're not in the queue. Do you wish to speak on any of this as we walk through this land use? We have one other speaker in the queue, but
yeah, I'm ready to roll.
I figured I'd give you the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for recognizing me, Mr. Chairman. I've been from the very beginning. Just haven't been able to say it yet, but with the people This is in the heart of my district. I have never seen such a public outcry before between my community meetings, which we had 3, which I'll get all that under record for ex parte on the next bill. But yeah, they've been extremely involved and extremely patient with this process and overwhelmingly against any future land use. So more of the no is going to come from the zoning, but I can't see approving a land use that just helps it get closer to the zoning. So I'm going to be a no for those reasons and because the people don't want it.
All right. Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Diamond. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so candidly, I was told by folks that I trust in the city that this was withdrawn in its entirety. I think that was probably an accident on their part. Don't get me wrong. I don't think there was any ill will. So I thought the entire bill was withdrawn. Now I know, I learned a couple of days ago that the entire bill wasn't withdrawn, but just the slaughterhouse portion of it. But that doesn't really satisfy, in my brain, like this issue. And so my motion is going to be to amend to deny, which is say no on this first, on the comp plan. And then we'll get to the second piece in a moment after everyone has a chance to do their thing. But let me put on a record a few things. First of all, I've worked with Cindy Trimmer for more than 6 years. And a lot of people said not very nice things about her. I will tell you, everything she's ever done with me professionally has been honest and straightforward and very decent. I don't think she's a liar. I think she calls them as it is. And so I reject that like on its face. That being said, I disagree with her position on this entirely. I'm a no on this. My motion will be to amend to deny. I don't feel like moving CGC to the back of this property is in the best interest of the city. And I didn't hear any facts to convince me that that's a good idea. So I'm a no on this, and then we'll look at the zoning in a minute. Thank you.
All right. Was there, Mr. Reingold, where are we at now? That did we get a motion on the bill, or did we get a second on the motion to deny?
I heard really an amendment to deny. I did not hear a second on that. Then I later on heard I'm going to maybe move an amendment to deny. So I haven't heard an official, I move to amend. There you go.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second from Council President Carrico. So if there is any other discussion, we'll go to the amendment to deny. So Councilmember Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I am still pulling in competent, substantial evidence. While I do understand that is not the burden of proof for this, I must understand as well that there must be some burden of proof that one must have. As such, competent, substantial evidence has been determined by people much more intelligent than I seems to be a good litmus, since we do use it for the other matter that we will be pursuing. Nevertheless, when I'm looking here, and I was trying to get as much information as I could, this did not seem to, this PUD did not seem to come up on the definition of encroachment. When I looked at what encroachment was and what it doesn't seem like request for sprawl or expansion, but it does not seem like it rises to the level of encroachment. So I'm still a little bit confused. Can someone, and is this, I can still do questions at this point, Mr. Chair, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Could someone give me what your understanding is from the planning department of encroachment? Because I keep hearing this term, and I think it's improperly and incorrectly used. But can you give me some definition of that as to how we look at encroachment on this body?
Yes, sir, through the chair, if you can give me just a second. I want to make sure if we have an official definition, because I don't just want to speak from my brain if we actually have something already written down.
And I do have some notes as you pulled that forward. As I was looking here, it says, like the 2045 comp plan says, strengthen established commercial codes, support small businesses, safer, cleaner, more regulated environments, protecting neighborhoods, protecting equitable access to food, ensuring health and sanitation. And the PUD, as written, internalizes sound and insulates operations, prohibits exterior activity, caps intensity, mandates the same-day removal of products like they do already in the facility that's there. And again, even with them removing the live animal processing from that, my question, because the reason I'm asking these questions is, as we move into the next phase. I don't want to get us into something that defies the law and then puts us in court spending taxpayer dollars to go to court and defend something that is, in essence, indefensible.
Okay. All right, to the councilman. So I double checked. We don't officially have a definition of encroachment, but I will tell you from planning purposes, encroachment would be if you can imagine like a line of residential, for example, and this goes into it versus just coming up to it. So I don't
I know, with all due respect to the chair, I know what it is.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out, is there a standard way, like burden or something that we come to say, hey, this is what we look at? I know what it looks like.
Yeah.
But my question is, because we've heard a lot of different bits of testimony tonight, and while some of it may be rooted in reality, some of it is not, and it's a lot of conjecture.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in this committee, in this space, I want to make sure, because this is a very important, while this is not the quasi-judicial action, I just want to make sure that I'm making the proper decision when that time comes based on the law. And so that's why the word encroachment, I want to make sure that we're right.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we don't have a firm definition, so unfortunately, I can't give you like a standard, but I will say, in this instance, what we looked at as part of our evaluation is if you zoom out on a map of this area of Beach Boulevard, we looked at where the uses fell in like across the segment. So we looked at the fact that to the west, there's a large chunk of light industrial, business park uses, future land use categories, and that along the majority of Beach Boulevard at a certain dimension, shall we say, there are commercial uses. So that's part of what we look at.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. So we have no other speakers in the queue, but for me, being the last speaker here, for the land use didn't really give me much heartburn. Where definitely some concerns and questions that I have are on the following piece, which is on the zoning, which I think is where we get into kind of the bulk of the actual bill itself. So for me, I don't. One way or the other, I don't know that the land use is going to really be the crux of the problem. The zoning for me is kind of going to be where the tipping point is. So, and we do this all the time, right? We have to go through the land use, and the threshold for the land use is much lower than the threshold for the zoning. And then if the zoning dies, then obviously we come back to the land use and it dies. So for me, I'm not going to support the denial just because I don't have a legitimate problem with the land use. I'll raise my concerns on the zoning when we get there. But for me, we've got planning department, planning commission approval on the land use portion. So I'm good with that going forward. So for me, that's where I'm at. And now we have another speaker, Councilman Gaffney. You're recognized.
This will be brief. Thank you, through the chair. One question to the planning department. Under any circumstances, if this was to pass tonight, will a slaughterhouse meat processing plant, however you want to label it, be allowed under the new industrial and CGC?
Through the chair to Councilmember Gaffney, no. In short, no. The reason would be because the rezoning is very limiting. And I actually, when the applicant submitted their revised PUD zoning, which they have to work in concert with each other, and I reviewed it very explicitly, and their revised portion calls out exactly what is allowed within that light industrial portion. It's storage, distributorship, things like that, which honestly I would imagine Publix does something similar on the back end of their property. But so that's all that's called out there. Not to mention, in the light industrial land use category, commercial uses are a secondary use. So it would be, all of the commercial stuff would be allowed without a problem. To intensify in that way, they would need a whole new PUD. It would have to go through this whole process again.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Yep. And that was kind of, you put that way more eloquently than I probably could have, but yeah, that's sort of the, the land use portion is not, going to be too problematic. Again, that's just when we get into 488 is when we'll kind of get into some of that. So right now, the motion and the second on the table is to deny. So is this a ballot vote or is this hand vote? Okay, so if you want to vote to deny per Councilmember Diamond's motion, signify by raising your hand. All right, and if you oppose the denial, raise your hand. Okay, so the denial doesn't pass, so now we have to get a motion on just the bill, the land use as... Okay, I can't really make the motion, but... Okay, so we have a motion and a second on 2025-487. Now, is there any further discussion on the land use at this time, or I think we kind of exhausted that. Okay, is this a ballot vote? Okay, open the ballot on the land use. Yep, record your vote.
Four yeas, one nay.
By your action, you have approved 2025-487. All right, so now we're moving on to 2025. Did you want to speak? No. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Council President Carrico voted nay, I believe. Do we need to redo that, or can you just record it? We can get it on the record. No, ma'am, not right now. We're. All right, same vote. Land use 2025-487. Let's just make sure. Okay, we're going to get it.
4 yeas, 2 nays.
Okay. There is Council President Carrico's vote right there. Okay. 2025-487 passes. Now moving on to item 2025-488. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Everybody should be getting in the queue. Councilman Gaffney, you're recognized.
Thank you. Through the chair, I rise to declare ex parte. I receive numerous, if not thousands, of emails from the community and opposed to this opposition. I think like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I made sure I get a date. I toured Abner just to get a better understanding of it, to see where everything will be going at. I'll make sure everything get filed with legislative services. Thank you.
Council President Carrico, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have ex parte to claim. I had 2 community meetings, one at Southside Estates, the other at the local Living Stream Church. Those were advertised through our district office, and we'll make sure that we get that ex parte file. I also had hundreds of emails in opposition, hundreds of phone calls in opposition, and we'll get into the details of that when we file the paperwork. I also had several in-person meetings with the developer and their attorney, and we'll put the details of those meetings on the ex parte as well. Thanks.
Councilman Diamond, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise to declare ex parte communications. Met with or spoke with the applicant 3 times, and I get the exact dates in the form I've started to fill out, and we'll submit to legislative services. Obviously received lots and lots of emails, almost all of them against. Spoke to members in the audience today. I'll add those to the list also. I've received 4 phone calls from residents who were against, and I had 5 in-person meetings with residents who were against. Not structured meetings, just coming up to me and talking to me about this. So I've kept a good log of all of them, and we'll submit it to legislative services. Thank you.
Councilman Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you. Try to get through all of these. I had a mail correspondence with State Rep Kian Michael about this issue. Just spoke with Mr. Durenberger in the green room. I have numerous emails that are logged in. I think the number was 74. And last but not, and I met with Mrs. Trimmer in my office 3 weeks ago. Last but not least, on November 1st, I went to the actual site and went over to view it, to take a look at it so that I could get that testimony. Those things, some have been filed and some are pending, especially the meetings I just had with Legislative Services, but we'll make sure that all of those things are taken care of. Thank you.
Councilmember White, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Through the chair, all emails has been filed. I have been to the site. In fact, stopped at one of the residents' house, and she carried me down and showed me. And we talked about the slaughterhouse, and all that's been filed. And I've met with Ms. Trimmer a couple times, and she's explained the slaughterhouse is now out, and all that has been filed. Thank you.
All right, and for me, the same emails have been received by my office, and we will get that paperwork filed with Legislative Services. I believe we did have a phone call with Ms. Trimmer. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but George will get that, and we'll file the paperwork with that, with Legislative Services as well. And all the ex parte is being recorded. So with that, we'll open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is the companion PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0488, which is seeking to rezone approximately 6.82 acres of land from RLD 60 and CCG 2 to a PUD in order to expand commercial uses on the site to the northern 1.38 acres on the northern side portion of the parcel, in order to maximize the use of their property, which is currently split zone between the RLD 60 and CCG 2 to allow for commercial uses. The existing development does include a multi-tenant commercial shopping center, which also includes an international grocery store and other commercial uses. The majority of the subject parcel is currently zoned CCG 2, one of the most intense commercial categories. The applicant has submitted a revised written description, which has removed the proposed use of live animal processing, so therefore it would not be permitted on the site if this PUD is approved. The updated written description also removes the more intense commercial uses that are currently allowed on the site within CCG 2. Those would include alcohol sales for on or off premises consumption, dancing entertainment facilities, and also nightclubs. The uses listed in the revised written descriptions are those currently permitted on the southern portion of the site, zone CCG 2, again with the removal of those more intense ones that I just mentioned. The PUD will include an expansion of square footage for future commercial uses to include a 30,000 square foot building along the western property boundary. This is adjacent to the existing commercial and personal property storage facility along the western property boundary. And also will include a 23,800 square foot multi-tenant shopping center along the eastern portion of the site. This is the structure on the site plan that is closest to Cortez Road in an area that is currently zoned CCG 2. Staff has reviewed the request and finds that the proposed development and uses are consistent with the comp plan with the land use amendment for light industrial and CGC designation. We find the PUD meets the internal and external criteria. Their setbacks and buffers will be similar to the CCG 1 and 2 zoning district. Part 12 landscaping requirements will also be compatible. The site plan for the proposed development shows a setback of 10.6 feet along the western property boundary for the building expansion, and then also will include a 22.5 foot setback along the northern property boundary for the commercial shopping center expansion. This northern property boundary will also include a landscape buffer, which will be the minimum 10 feet required under Part 12 zoning code. Beach Boulevard is a heavily commercialized corridor along with other industrial uses that are further west and commercial uses that extend further north into the residential area. Given the development standards and limitations within the PUD, we find that the proposed project is compatible and consistent with existing developments. So therefore, we are forwarding a recommendation of approval with no conditions. The 3 conditions that were listed in the staff report and that's currently listed in the agenda were specifically related to the live animal processing. So since that use has been removed, we don't recommend forwarding those conditions. Application was heard by Planning Commission on November 6th. where there were several speakers in opposition to the live animal processing use. The discussion from citizens and the commissioners was primarily focused on that use and the close proximity to the residential area. The commission was split vote with a final vote of 3-3, with half of the commissioners finding that that with the proposed conditions, existing environmental regulations that they have to meet, and then also the limitation on the scale of the use, they found that it was appropriate for the area. And then the other half of the commissioners had concerns on the closeness to the existing residential, and that this PUD could set a precedence for future property owners to seek similar rezonings. So again, the commission ultimately voted 3-3 tie on the vote. Thank you.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right. So we already have an open public hearing. We'll have the applicant first. Before we do that, so just so everybody knows, the standard for quasi-judicial is competent and substantial evidence. That's the standard, and that's what we have to vote on. Dylan, can you just help folks out and give them a definition of competent and substantial evidence? That way, their public comment up there is really targeted at stuff that we're allowed to use in our decision-making process.
Thank you very much to the chair, to both the chair and the committee, and to those in the audience. So substantial competent evidence, I break down into two separate issues. So first off is what we call lay testimony. So if you are a neighbor in the community, you have no special expertise in a particular subject matter, you can provide factual-based testimony. So facts about your community. Information about how far you live from the property, information about how big your property is, or what your neighbor's property is about. Those are all fact-based issues. Now, you can also have expert-based testimony as part of competent substantial evidence, but that needs to be from someone who's an expert in a particular field based upon their education or based upon their experience. So someone who's a property appraiser could testify about property values. Someone who is a scientist may be able to testify about some sort of scientific aspect of a zoning, but those people have specific expertise. The folks that generally live in a community who are not not providing expert testimony, just can provide factual testimony about their community. Please keep in mind just generalized concerns about traffic or noise or those types of issues are not deemed substantial competent evidence. And with that, I turn it back over to the chair unless you would like some additional information.
Yep, that was great. And before we jump in, we have a question from Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The procedural, I know you, and this is kind of new for me, the 3-3 vote with the Planning Commission, does that mean kind of like our body? Does it stay with them, or what happens at the 3-3? Forgive me.
We're allowed to move forward. They're done, but I'll let Dylan tell you.
Yeah, so under the zoning code, if they don't take action within 63 days from the proposed amendment, then this body can take it from them and move forward. It's not a waiver of any aspect of our code. It just travels to us as a recommendation of a denial as part of its recommendation. I will note, however, as opposed to maybe other items in the past, this item, they've had a full-blown hearing. They just ended up having a 3-3. If you wanted any information from the planning department as to what their rationales were for how they got there, certainly planning department is available to answer any questions.
But the tie is a denial for the planning commission.
So since it's being removed from planning commission because it didn't meet the 63-day rule,
Okay.
It travels as a recommendation of a denial.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'll keep my opinion about the value of planning commission to myself. All right. Let's, Ms. Trimmer, the applicant.
Thank you so much. Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, on behalf of the applicant. To briefly recap, we have a property that has split land use and zoning. Most of the site today is CCG2. It is surrounded by properties that are CCG2, CCG1, CRO, LI, IBP, and then some residential uses to the north. We talked about the fact that the vision behind this site was really to unlock the potential in it and to be able to expand the current uses. Again, just to say it as part of the zoning, part of that original request did include 3,000 square foot of the 30,000 square foot building that would have had live animals. That request is abandoned. And I've handed out a red line of the written description showing all of the references that are stricken from that. I do have some extra copies if folks want to see those. I included an overlay exhibit in the handout that I passed out. It's the 5th page to show the immediate vicinity and show what is there and that what we are proposing is completely on par with that immediate surrounding area. So if you look at the development around this existing shopping center, you have a veterinarian and another shopping center, a bowling alley, self-storage, and there is one single family home, and then everything to the north of it is undeveloped. Looking across the street on Cortez, there's the backside of a hotel property, storage, a paint shop, an AT&T utility facility. To the south, there's a large shopping center that has Winn-Dixie, CVS, Goodwill, Bailey's, with out parcels with all kinds of drive-through restaurants. To the west, there's a large flea market. When you look at the scale of the development that's around here, that large shopping center, and again, this flea market that's north on Beach Boulevard, right next door, is over 250,000 square feet. When you have the CCG2, the development potential on this site without this land use amendment and rezoning is on order of magnitude with that. The PUD will limit what can be done here. In the remaining materials, I showed you the floor plan of that existing facility with the proposed layout so you can see everything in context. I also showed images of the investment the owners have made in this site since they bought it. They've invested millions to improve this site. They have a really robust mix of tenants that are in there today, everything from medical offices to beauticians and spa and shopping boutiques, a food court, a grocer. I say that to say all of that was the first phase of improvement to this site. What they are trying to do now is continue to improve that site by making investments in it. When you look at what is proposed versus what they're now, I know that the focus of the conversation got tied up in the animal processing component, but the bigger vision really is to improve this site. It's to make investments that are going to improve the traffic access along Beach Boulevard. Right now, you have multiple different traffic conflicts. You have people pulling out of the uniform facility, basically backing back into right-of-way area. We're going to improve that. We're going to improve safety so that there's one main access point and then one becomes only one way. And then the site itself, the parking lot is not optimal. They're going to make investments in that to bring that whole site up to code so that you have perimeter landscaping along Beach Boulevard, along Cortez. You have the proper interior landscaping with landscape islands throughout the parking area. You would have the proper uncomplimentary use buffer between the commercial and the residential. There is no request for relief from any of those provisions. This site would be brought fully into compliance with what is proposed here today. Again, you have a site that has CCG use. They could build a large parking structure. They could build multi-story facilities that would have an incredible amount of square footage without changing anything on this site today. This PUD caps what they can do to a 150,000 square foot facility. That's way less than what's on the south or west of them and completely consistent with this area. The uses that are proposed in the PUD are less intense than what you can do by right in the CCG2 portions today. This is a de-intensification of the proposed uses and provides more protection than what they have with what is there today with no change. We ask that you support the owners so they can continue making investments, continue increasing jobs, continue shopping and opportunities for the community in a way that is completely appropriate for this area. I'll stand by for questions after we have the rest of the comments.
Thank you, Ms. Trimmer. All right, the next 5 speakers, Kathleen Pereira, Blake Harper, Carla Looney, and Catherine Del Rey. Come on up, Ms. Pereira.
My name is Kathleen Pereira. My information is on file, and this is one of the adjoining neighborhoods to mine. I find it interesting that all the wordplay here. First, it wasn't good for a slaughterhouse on a PUD because of all these conditions they put on it. Now it's okay to use the same PUD because it's going to be a warehouse. Okay, there's been a lot of, to me, back and forth. It seems to me that they want to say whatever they need to say to get this approved instead of understanding what the impact is to this neighborhood. You have a warehouse, slaughterhouse, you name what you want to put on there. This is impacting the neighborhood. That's the crux of this. Also, the fact that it was true. If they hadn't done sleight of hand and eliminated the slaughterhouse and now doing a warehouse, you would have set a precedent for all PUDs to be up for grabs for whatever people wanted to build on there. Slaughterhouses, adventure halls, no matter whatever you want to call it. So that was also about the fact with the conditions, that if you approved it before when it was a slaughterhouse, but now it's okay because it's going to be a warehouse, you had a lot of conditions. So you're going to green light pretty much practically any kind of condition to justify a building project. Even those, one of the conditions of the slaughterhouse implied that the slaughterhouse would inevitably generate issues in the future. That was the condition, that they could close them down if they had a problem in the future. So they're already implying that there's a problem. So with or without conditions, with or without the slaughterhouse, this is just wrong with all the things that have been snowed around so that the residents don't know what it is, what's going on with this property. It was evident that the LUZ committee members were even confused of what was going on. Deny this and say no to this 488, and 487 should be reconsidered to deny.
Thank you, Ms. Pereira. Next is Blake Harper.
Blake Harper, information on file. I heard a criticism about the fact that information that's being provided here isn't valid, and particularly with regards to the notion of there's no encroachment going on. The city doesn't have a definition of encroachment. Here's one for you. Commercial encroachment when businesses, offices, shops, or other commercial activities expand into or primarily residential areas often brings a range of negative impacts on people who live there. The very fact of the matter is you're taking residential property and you're turning it into a commercial use. That, by very definition, is encroachment. And that's exactly what's happening. Now, as you all make decisions, and as you all talk to people and make decisions at those points in time, you have a basis of information to work with. By you saying, this is the decision I made at this point in time, and other contrary information comes along that you deny and you hold to your original position, that would change it if you were making an objective and rational decision, you're failing your responsibility as a councilman. That's exactly what we have here. We have an attempt back in 2015 to turn this into a warehouse, a less controversial, less contentious warehouse, a dry goods warehouse for a thrift store. We don't know what's going into this warehouse, what type of things are going to be going into it. Furthermore, it's a grocery store. And we can expect that there's going to be a lot more truck traffic regarding this warehouse than that warehouse with the hospice group. So you're going to have more road noise, more truck noise, more dislocation. Folks, it's plain and simple. It's black and white. This is encroachment. It damages the community. It damages the quality of life. You have a responsibility to make the right decision. And voting for this is not the right decision. The facts do not support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. Next is Carla Looney. Roger that. Does not want to speak. Catherine Del Rey. Followed by Carolyn Hughes, followed by Richard Hughes. Please come on up.
Good afternoon. I'm Catherine Del Rey, and my address is on file. I moved to Jacksonville from New Jersey. If you might remember, Governor James Florio was a pioneer in environmental problems, which we had a lot of in New Jersey. The proposed PUD introduces animal processing to a largely residential commercial area, an incompatible land use. The truck transport of animals increases the risk of spills, odors, and fluids affecting nearby homes, an environmental hazard in a residential setting. live animal trucks have ventilation on the undercarriage, so it would subject the neighborhoods to contamination of the land and then their well water. This is a quote from Governor Florio. 30 years ago, we didn't have a sense that if you dug a hole and dumped something in it, it would affect the water. Now we know that the problem doesn't go away. When we put something in the ground, it doesn't disappear. We need to preserve the purity of the water systems we have.
Let me just pause you for a quick second and just pause our time. It sounds like you're talking on the processing plant, the slaughterhouse, which has been removed. So that's not in the bill anymore. Mr. Dillon, I think that covers it. So if you can focus on what's left, which is the warehouse and the other things, and then you can start our time. I know it's not super easy to understand, but just trying to be fair to you so that you target things that we're actually going to vote on.
Okay. Well, the studies show that approximately the animal operators can reduce home values by 10 to 20%, in some cases 30 to 40%. For these reasons, I respectfully ask LUZ to vote no on ordinance 2025-0488.
Thank you, Ms. Delray. You're almost there anyways. All right. Carolyn Hughes, followed by Richard Hughes, followed by Brett Burton, followed by Shannon Peters. Come on up, y'all. Ms. Hughes.
Carolyn Hughes, address on file. It's very difficult to speak to this issue because it changes constantly. We were given a picture that was placed on Mr. Carrico's Facebook saying that the slaughterhouse was done away with due to long time negotiation. All night I've listened to ex parte this, ex parte that. The question is, when you are having those kinds of ex parte things, you're not hearing from everyone. And people are being given a time to influence your decision that we are not given. 3 minutes compared to, are you going to tell me when you have ex parte it's only 3 minutes long? Now, I am against this neighborhood shopping area. I'm against a huge warehouse because I know in my heart, which I cannot prove, but if you make that land industrial and you let him put a warehouse there with the intention of freezing meat, you're talking about a distribution point in the future. You're talking about a problem that will come back. And at some point, the people on Cortez Road deserve a respite from this kind of nonsense. We've made our feelings clear. We don't want any of it. And we should count more, in all honesty, than any of you, because we will have to live with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Next, I believe we have Richard Hughes. All right.
Richard Hughes, my address is on the record. Being that we have conditions, I would like to add a condition. Live animal processing is prohibited in perpetuity, that is, for all time. Thank you.
Next, we have Brett Burton.
Good afternoon, members of Land Use and Zoning. Brett Burton, address is on file. Didn't bring my usual big notes with me, so bear with me here. The applicant has not been around as long as District 4 has. I've known a lot of these neighbors. I know this district quite better than most of you, except the council member from District 4. A lot of these homeowners have been here for generations. They're not going to support this. They've came out. I haven't seen anyone from District 4 come out and vote if they say that they want to support this. The Greater Arlington Beaches CPAC, which is a volunteer organization in our city, a lot of these people volunteer their time to work on these CPACs. They all voted against this proposal. You know, that should say mean a lot to you that on top of having people from the district vote no, that they don't want this. There's also people that are giving up their time to volunteer to help our city that also have encouraged you to vote no with their denial. Lastly, this PUD's conditions are vague and difficult to enforce long-term. I'm not sure how you can justify one thing with one neighborhood and not apply it to somewhere else. And quite frankly, the gentleman that brought up the parts about property appraiser, I don't work for the property appraiser's office, but if you built a giant warehouse behind my home, I don't think that my property value would go up. In closing, I would encourage you that with all the evidence that's been presented, to encourage you to vote no against 0488. I don't believe it's in the best interest of Jacksonville. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Shannon Peters.
I'm Shannon Peters. Address is on file. I live on Cortez Road, about 8 properties from this proposal. Couple things. I've got notes all over the place. Sorry. But this proposal here, I feel like if you guys are putting a vote through to approve this, and I'm going to go back to the previous proposal, to approve a light industrial change and a PUD change just so it doesn't have to go back to the Planning Commission is lazy. It's lazy. I'm sorry if they're going to have to spend more money or more time or whatever. I personally will be okay with that, because passing it through as light industrial or a PUD, to me, in my mind, opens up the door for maybe pushing through what they really want at a later time. Although it does say in light industrial in the comprehensive plan that it specifically says no slaughterhouses allowed. I will say that at the Planning Commission meeting, they were discussing the definition of slaughterhouse. And did this really count as a slaughterhouse because so few animals, only 70 a day, would be slaughtered? You guys can play and mix around with the definitions here. We're talking about encroachment today. You know, we have somebody look up the word, the definition. We looked up the word slaughterhouse. It's not defined by how many animals are slaughtered. It is defined by the act of slaughtering animals. And to pass this zoning changes is giving them a window to do other things in the future and to come back on this when they regroup. I am all for improving the site. You know, there's lots of things that could better it. But changing the low density residential zoning to light industrial, commercial, that doesn't need to be touched. That is what it is. And that is encroachment coming into our neighborhood. On their back lot, there's wetlands right now. I believe it's class 3 wetlands. And, you know, it says it's kind of a lower functioning wetlands because it's been cut off by the other wetlands. So paving over it, which was in their prior plan, I don't know if it's in their plan now, who knows. But paving over that, it's not helping our wetland situation. We have wetlands all to the north of that as well. And wetlands are important.
Thank you. Next, we have Lisa Ellen Dernberger.
Hello, my name is Lisa Ellen Dernberger. My address is on file. I oppose Ordinance 2025-0488, which seeks to rezone to a planned unit development that the applicant requested, which is its conditions, would have permitted slaughtering live animals and their processing in commercial uses. The PUD tool is being misused to circumvent existing zoning rather than to genuinely create a cohesive community-oriented development. The city's zoning code for PUDs clearly states that the intent of the PUD district is not to be used solely to diminish the usual application of the provisions of the zoning code. That is exactly what is happening here. A wholesale rezoning of residential land into a mixed industrial commercial PUD without any meaningful transitional buffer and arguably with little community compatibility. Second, even though the PUD is being pitched as supporting the existing grocery, Apna Bazaar, with an on-site halal meat processing, the live animal component being stripped out in the amendment, leave questions as to their continued use and intent of use for future market fare. This is deeply troubling because live slaughter processing was the cornerstone of the original justification, along with the applicant's testimony on record desire to simply save money. Remove that, and what remains is a PUD that does not serve the public interest as requested. It merely delivers industrial zoning and commercial expansion. Without the live processing use, the stated public purpose is effectively nullified, raising serious questions about why these zoning changes are being pursued at all. Third, the comprehensive plan's land use categories make clear distinctions. This parcel was not mapped for industrial uses, but for low density and community commercial uses. Permitting heavy commercial, light industrial activities via a PUD here risks undermining the city's long-term land use strategy, as well as the health, safety, and welfare goals that the comprehensive plan is designed to protect. Finally, Planning Commission itself was divided, and there is strong neighborhood opposition, rooted in real concerns. And if you vote for this, it will set precedent. The PUD process should not be used as a shortcut to impose uses that are incompatible with the area, especially when the core justification, live animal processing, is being removed.
Thank you. Next, we have Kirsten Brewer.
Okay. I would like to address the expert testimony that you were referring to. At the Planning Commission meeting that we had several experts that were planning to speak. We were given 3 minutes total, not 6 minutes, not 3 for each one, but 6 minutes. In addition to people being thrown out, we were threatened multiple times. We were not allowed to ask questions. And so even though the meeting started at 1, we were told that we would not be heard till 3, and then there was an intermission. So many of the people had to leave. And because there was a miscommunication about was everything withdrawn or just the slaughterhouse, we didn't really have time to regroup and have expert testimony tonight. But I would like to also address the different categories that were listed by Ms. Trimmer. If you look at Winn-Dixie, there are no homes. If you look at the bowling alley, it's a business district behind Winn-Dixie. It's not comparable to Cortez Road. If you look at the bowling alley, if you look at the flea market, they do not back up to homes. You have retention ponds, and I'm assuming it's wetlands because it's a large tree mass. It's also a dead-end road. So they're not comparable. When you look at which I believe is, I don't have time to research it, but the only thing I can think of that might be light industrial is the building heading north on Cortez on the right, which would be the east side. That looks like a ranch-style home. It doesn't even, you wouldn't even maybe even know that it was an industrial business. So they're not even comparable. Cortez Road is a neighborhood. And so, I would just like to say all the things that have already been stated, that the PUD, that was what we understood to, be solely tied into the slaughterhouse. So there doesn't seem to be a need for that. But I think it needs to be revisited so that we can all understand it is a unique situation because this is a neighborhood. You cannot compare Winn-Dixie, even Abna backs up to the wetlands. You cannot compare it to the flea market or to the bowling alley or the vet. There's no neighborhoods. It's wetlands. It's retention ponds. So, if you will not vote no, we hope that you would at least defer so the citizens can get together for better clarity and to bring in expert testimony. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Samantha Series.
Samantha Series, address on file. I am opposed to this rezoning from RLD 60 and CCG 2 to a PUD. Since the butchering of live animals was taken off of the PUD, I'm not sure why we would want to move forward with the PUD. There's already CCG2, which is permitted, and warehouses are allowed on that. So to change the RLD 60 and the CCG2 to a PUD seems irresponsible. You know, PUDs have become the norm, and each one is unique. So it's the next to impossible for code compliance people to go out and adequately enforce the conditions of each PUD. What ends up happening is neighbors are counting on a condition, you know, the maintaining of landscape buffer, you know, not doing certain items that are listed, but, you know, no one's enforcing it. So I think it's important that we are careful with these PUDs and make sure that we are not rezoning them just to rezone them. I think that the zoning there now is appropriate and should not be changed. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Lance Labonte. Okay, he is in opposition. Brett Goddard.
Brett Goddard, address on file. I too oppose 2025-048. I don't understand the need for the PUD. You've already given them LI. PUD is just another way to circumvent the zoning. For the site, it's a foot in the door for the applicant for something potentially more insidious down the road. And if the PUD is framed in a way that the site gets improved with landscape buffers and landscape medians and redone parking, all that's going to be required anyway by the expansion of the shopping center. That is not goodwill on the intent of the applicant. They're not doing it, I guarantee, out of benevolence. They're doing it because they're going to be required to do so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next we have Annie Kirby.
Thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you. Again, I am against this ordinance.
Name and address, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Sorry about that. Annie Kirby. My address is on file.
Thank you.
I'm against this ordinance. I would encourage you to vote no. I would also encourage you to remember the people that are here today are from the community. They speak of living in the community, having to live with the changes that are being proposed. They are adamantly against it. So please keep that in mind. And I also would like to ask, since there are so many questions from the people in the community, perhaps this would be a good opportunity to defer this for additional research and other questions to be asked and answered by the folks that are living there in the Cortez residential area. Thank you.
Okay, next we have GR Cheshire.
Again, my name is George Cheshire. I live at 2929 Cortez Road. My biggest concern here is you've already given them the rezone that they need. So what's to stop them coming back 6 months from now, a year from now, and just start building in the slaughterhouse without any further public comment? They've got the zoning would approve it. They can just build it. They don't have to come back through you again. So where's my protection that this will not be added back in later? Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Mr. Donegal, can you go ahead and address that statement?
Thank you very much to the chair of the committee and to the audience. So what has happened is that the Land Use and Zoning Committee has approved the land use, but the proposed planned unit development would not permit a live animal processing facility. So with that removed from the proposed zoning, that use could not come in next month, 6 months, a year from now, unless they came back and went through all this whole process again. So that use would not be permitted without going back through this. Hopefully that addressed your comment to the chair, to Council President.
Yep. All right, next we have Kathleen Murray.
Good evening. Kathleen Murray, Citizens Defending Freedom, address on file, strongly urging you to vote no on Ordinance 2025-0488. First, zoning standards have not been met. There is no hardship, no justification, and no alignment with Jacksonville's comprehensive plan. Approving this would set a citywide precedent, inviting incompatible uses throughout the city and eroding neighborhood protections. The Greater Arlington Beaches Citizen Planning Advisory Committee has already recommended denial. Ignoring that broad community opposition would severely undermine trust in this committee's judgment. Second, the PUD conditions are vague, weak, and unenforceable. Code compliance already struggles with existing issues. This operation would add significant new risks and burdens, and given the flexibility of a PUD, the applicant could easily return later seeking slaughter or processing, especially considering their shifting and inconsistent statements. Finally, the failure of this legislation in planning, the affected community, and the council member who represent this community should carry greater weight over Mrs. Tremor, who appears to be the one deemed as an expert. As hired counsel, she cannot and should not be treated as an expert witness in this matter. Her role is advocacy, not impartial analysis. The council member for this district has said no. The community continues to say no. The planning commission says no. Why would the committee even consider passing it except for being compromised? CDF will continue to look into potential conflicts of interest and once again ask any council members who have engaged in any extracurricular activity with the applicant to recuse themselves from this legislation. Thank you in advance for your consideration.
All right, next we have Claudette Falconberry. All right. Okay. She opposes. And next we have Melvin Peepers. Don't wish to speak, is in opposition. Shannon Blair, followed by James Grunden, Lori Grunden, if y'all want to come on down. Rebecca Moran, and sorry, there's a duplicate card, and then Joel Looney.
Good evening once again. My name is Shannon Blair, and my address is on file. Again, I'm a Florida resident, deeply concerned about the proposals put forth by Apna Bazaar and their attorneys. I'm here to speak on behalf of the community and the animals who I love so much. I keep hearing no live animal processing, but that does not mean that they're not planning to butcher animals. And the PUD request is not just a zoning issue, it's a direct tie to a supply chain with documented felony level animal cruelty. The applicant already sells meat sourced from Ally Meats in Orlando, where a 3-month undercover investigation was done. And that was done by Animal Recovery Mission. During that investigation, 41 felony acts of animal cruelty were documented and handed over to the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Again, I have a 48-page report here. They're already selling meat from this location now, so I see a problem with that as it is. To let them expand any further would be a grave mistake. During the investigation, slaughtering animals in fuel of each other was documented, which is completely illegal. Failure to follow the humane...
To the chair, if I can. Hold on.
Can you pause my time, please?
Sure.
We're going to... I think it's important to focus on what happens on this piece of property and
right.
The boundaries of this piece of property. What happens on other pieces of property is not part of this zoning. It's not part of the subject property.
So they're already selling meat from Ally Meats, which is owned by the same team per Cindy Trimmer and Mike Sittner and Mohammed Faisal.
All right. If she's... we'll just let her time go if she doesn't want to listen to me on the point.
Okay, so I'll move on. But I do want to mention that investigation was done by a former law enforcement officer who's also an ex-Special Forces Marine and trainer for the State Department, and the findings are irrefutable. Even if Apna Bazaar claims that no live animal slaughter will occur on site, the PUD would financially and operationally tie Jacksonville to this criminally abusive supply chain. So that's why I'm speaking about it. The applicant has repeatedly misrepresented their operations, shifting terminology from slaughterhouse and animal processing to now possibly butchering. And when the public is being told no live animal slaughtering, they're also having the idea put in their head that butchering won't be taking place as well. Cindy talked about the 3,000 square feet. I remember her saying at one of the meetings that was where live animals would be housed, but that the total square footage where animals would be butchered afterwards was closer to, I think, 15,000 square feet. So I'm wondering what's going on with that other square footage that's missing now that we're not hearing about. And again, approving this PUD is dangerous because it grants maximum flexibility once it exists. Future butchering, processing, or other high-impact uses could be added with far less public oversight. This is a residential and neighborhood-serving commercial area. Homeowners invested their savings and built their lives and, on what they thought they were getting at the time, and that shouldn't be changed now to make one business owner happy. That's not right. It's going to expose residents to more noise, more traffic at the very least, and it's going to disrupt the character and the safety of the community. I know that some people were upset about what I said earlier, but we were told publicly at meetings, and the media was told that trucks were going to be delivering animals that were entirely enclosed. That is why I said I can't believe what comes out of certain people's mouths.
Okay, thank you. Next we have James Grundon.
Yeah, I'm respectfully opposed.
Name and address.
James Grundon, address on file.
Thank you.
Respectfully opposed to it. And I would ask you to remember that a clear conscience is a soft pillow. And if there's even the impression of ill-conceived or ill-thought-out plans, something that's wrong, and somebody goes along with it, who is it that said that silence in the face of evil is itself evil? It sounds like there's a whole lot of smoke and mirrors and a whole lot of things that are being called back, and the general public's being asked to not speak about this or don't bring that up. But this is a really, really important thing for this little neighborhood. And I, as somebody said prior, if this was happening in your neighborhood, would you be a little upset by it? And when you start to feel and hear power broker names and people with deep, deep pockets, and this one's got this at stake, and this one grew up in the same village, and so forth. Does corruption involve money? Does money corrupt people? Does evil corrupt people? Or do corrupt people make good people come up with bad decisions? I don't know. We have a huge problem in this country with all kinds of things. This is just one little microcosm of that in Jacksonville, Florida. And my heart goes out to this neighborhood. They're pleading with you to do the right thing. Break the mold and do something brave and say no. Stand firm, respectfully.
Thank you. Next, we have Lori Grundon. Do not wish to speak, is in opposition. Rebecca Moran. Okay, does not wish to speak, is in opposition. And then the following cards also check that they do not wish to speak. If you change your mind, come on down. Joel Looney is in opposition. I think it's Shannon Francis, opposition. Deanne Adamson opposes. John Brewer opposes. Jessica Yep. What's your name? What's your name?
Jessica Schumacher.
Okay, come on down, Jessica. And we'll stop right there.
Jessica Schumacher, address on file. I just wanted to say that I'm so sick of Trimmer comparing what's around to be compatible to their agenda. As Kirsten Brewer mentioned, it's not comparable. So we just continue to chip away at sacred space, right? Our space, our homes. If you rezone, then Kim, that lives next to the area, and the gentleman's land next to hers, and then all the way up can rezone. Everyone can start rezoning because they don't want to be next to industrial space, right? So it goes all the way from Cortez down to Alden, all the way to Atlantic, and it's just going to all be consumed. When does it end? Please protect our homes. Please protect our land, our generational wealth. Please vote no. Use what's happened the last rezoning and proposed in this area in 2016 that was shot down unanimously. Use that, because that's the same situation. And I want to be educated because this is the first time I'm standing in front of you, but I keep seeing people from the board disappearing. And if we're going to have a bathroom break or whatever, but as they're disappearing, are they hearing our testimonials?
They are, yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. I just wanted to make sure that you're hearing our valuable testimonials. Please vote no. We value our space and our land, and it's for our families, and we want to raise our families there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Brandon Schumacher, do not wish to speak, is in opposition. Francis McLeod opposes. Betty Hayes opposes. Margaret Latimer opposes. Candelidia Peepers opposes. Donna Whirlpool opposes. Jeremiah Dernberger opposes. Don Heron opposes. Michelle Oliveri opposes. And Kim Oliveri opposes. All right. Ms. Trimmer, you have 3 minutes for a rebuttal.
Thank you so much. We're hearing a lot tonight about encroachment and that this is a residential neighborhood and that we're taking over a residential neighborhood. Unequivocally, when you drive back Cortez, at a certain point, it does become a residential neighborhood. But what is along Beach Boulevard and what is along most of Cortez, where this property abuts right now, is CCG2 commercial use, our most intense commercial category. And we are not extending that further back than the non-residential uses that are across the street. That is not encroachment. If we were extending it further back, that would be one thing. And we manage that all the time in this excuse me.
You guys, let her speak. Y'all had your time. Thank you.
We deal with managing growth and change in this body all the time. Again, most of the land that is fronting Cortez right now is already CCG2. We could have asked to make the whole site CCG2, but in the going on 10 years I've been a land use lawyer, I am consistently told we don't want to make everything CCG2 because that is our most intense commercial category. So the PUD is making this less intense than the CCG2 that is on this site. The industrial area that's within this site is more than 200 linear feet from the closest residential property line, and it's more than 400 linear feet from the closest house. We could have heavy industrial that close under our code and still comply. The site protects the residential, the PUD, and the constraints that are built into the PUD protect the residential. The PUD allows for expansion on a site that is almost 7 acres. This is a huge property with tremendous development potential. And they are voluntarily capping what they can do on this site to 150,000 square feet. It will allow them to do it so that it's 1 story around the site, and it will allow so that they can have all of the proper traffic circulation and parking within the site so that the surrounding area is protected. That's what the PUD does. There's nothing nefarious here. We did originally, again, have live animals. They are out. There are no animals. It is a commercial development that is completely consistent with what is in the surrounding area. If there are conditions or things like that that we need to talk about to provide further protections and assurances that they're not going to have the parade of horribles, we can certainly do that. But what is being asked here is very modest when you look at the surrounding area and the development potential of a CCG2 site. We ask for your support so that they can continue to develop this responsibly and in a way that is harmonious with the community. We're available for questions.
All right. Thank you so much. I think we will have a few questions. Starting with Councilman Diamond. You're recognized. Okay, he's going to defer to the district council member, council president.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me. Yes, I'm going to be against this. Was from the very beginning, and try to show up to a community meeting with 200 people all in opposition and come up with a different plan, and I couldn't do that. So, you guys have your conscience. You have to vote how you have to vote. Certainly not here to try to tell you to do anything, but it was clear and obvious to anyone living around District 4 that this wasn't wanted, and you can tell by the turnout today. Even though the use has been taken off of it, we're still out here. Just letting you know that constituents don't want this. So leave it up to you to decide the rest, but I'll be a no.
All right. Councilmember Diamond, you're recognized.
So I'm supposed to look at competent substantial evidence. That's the standard. I've never, but let me just say for a second, I've never seen a neighborhood rally like this. I've been on this council for 6 years, been in LUZ the whole time. I've seen some very contentious land use issues all over the city. Never seen anything quite like this. So I'm a no, to be clear. I don't think it's a surprise. It's the first time I can say very publicly during a quasi-judicial matter that I'm a no. I have my competent substantial evidence as the application exists today is that the residential is too close to what they're trying to do, in my opinion. And so that's what I put on the record today. I would make a motion to amend to deny.
All right. Councilman Gaffney, you're recognized. There was no second. Councilman Gaffney, you're recognized. All right, we have a second from far down on the dais. So now we will take up everyone in the queue for the motion to deny, again, by Councilmember Diamond. So, Councilman Gaffney, you're recognized on the denial.
Thank you, through the chair. Just a few questions. I heard a few community members mention, and I don't know if my colleagues have an appetite for this tonight, to defer this. I don't know. I mean, because I'm stuck in the middle. I do have some questions about the industrial use of the project. I wish we could get more specific. I know you guys said storage. I guess, Ms. Tremor, if you could come up, what would you guys be storing in this warehouse? And why you guys discussing that? And the only reason I said maybe a deferral, because maybe it could be some, I don't know if it could be no compromise at all, but maybe you guys can reduce the project. I know it's 150,000 square feet now. I don't know, maybe to 100,000 square feet. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out. I don't know where this go at. But anyway, you can answer that question. The first question, which I guess, what would you guys be storing, through the chair?
Through the chair, it would be both a combination of being able to support the existing operations on site, so whatever materials are needed for all of the commercial, the grocery, the things that they have, and then also offer site that they could have storage for other people.
Okay.
As far as a deferral, I don't think that there's any reason to defer this further today. The bottom line is that the neighbors don't want expansion on the site of any form. And the owners want to be able to do an expansion in a way that allows for the traffic circulation on the portions of the site that are residential. If that's not possible, then they'll have to look at a site plan that would allow them to do it within their site, and that might mean multi-story, that might mean other things. But I just don't think that there is more of a middle ground, and at this point, we really do just need to advance it to a vote.
And I appreciate that. This will be my last question. So this is what we have. We have a business owner who owns 7 acres or so. He within right now, he could go develop this property. I mean, he could put some vertical apartments or whatever the case may be. It could be more traffic. Then you have a community who's opposed to this. I guess my question would be for the community. I mean, and I know I can't ask the whole community, but what is it that you guys want? I know you guys don't want nothing, you know, or somebody, you know. So I guess when I say deferral, I want to hear more about what the community wants, because the city of Jacksonville is growing. So let's just say we do deny this today. He could go next week or a couple of weeks from now, a month from now, and still develop this. It could be something worse. So I'm trying to find like a middle ground, hear what you guys want, so we won't be dealing with this thing next year. I mean, it's just a matter of time before this come back to city council. If it get denied tonight, trust me, he could sell it, and a new buyer could come develop it. So I didn't hear from the community what you guys want, but I stand by and listen to my colleagues and see how they like to proceed. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Councilman Johnson, you're recognized.
This is not on the denial, so should I wait until we finish?
It's we're on the bill, so it's fine.
You don't mind? Okay. Thank you for that. Just want to stay in procedure. I will say something that I do have questions, but this seems to be a little disingenuous, and I don't like what I'm hearing when I hear certain code words and codes that are used, Mr. Chair. Some of those codes like insidious, and they're sneaking things in. Every piece of this process has been transparent. There's been public meetings, there's been public things going on, and so when I hear that, and then I hear people refer to in the same village as some prominent people, when I heard that several times tonight, and I wrote that down. The reason I did, because this village that's being talked about is a city of 14 million people, which is the 27th largest city in the world. It ain't a village, it's a city. But those are the kind of code words and tactics that lead me to believe that something else is going on here. But I do have, and even the terms illegal activities, I want this to stay in the space that we're in and talk about what we need to talk about. Now, I have seen, I will say, through the chair, Councilman Diamond, I know you said this is probably the most organized or largest group that you've seen, and that just isn't the case, because I know there was an affordable housing community on Biscayne, and there were way more people than that here, and they fought against it, and it was still endorsed by this committee and Chick-fil-A, but both of those things happen to be on the north side, so there is that. Nevertheless, in looking at all of this, let me ask you currently, and this is for the owner, or for the attorney for the owner, in the space that we're in, and I'm looking at the evidence, right? And as was said earlier, and if you could call Ms. Trimmer as I speak back to the stand, what it was said, the community just doesn't want this, but doesn't want this, with all due respect to my colleagues, is not competent, substantial evidence. We are in a quasi-judicial proceeding, and so we must work in the way that the law has been predetermined. In this space, Ms. Trimmer, based on where we are right now, exclusive of this PUD, does the applicant have any plans to put something else there possibly? Because at this point, and forgive me if I want to make sure, because I have a couple pages of notes, this facility is already bringing economic development to the area and is working in this way. The applicant just wants to expand the facility, because there are, when I went to go look at it, it seemed to be there was a lot of traffic, and they wanted to open it up so that things could be easier. Please help me understand that and answer that other question.
Through the chair. So I had included the aerial with the site to put into context. Again, it's almost 7 acres, and maybe half of that site is actually developed today. Has buildings, has parking area. The rest is grass, vacant property. Again, a lot of what is undeveloped property today is already in CCG2 and CGC land use category. So it's developable, but when they looked at the site and they brought an engineer in and they laid out buildings and they laid out the parking and the interior travel lanes, it really functions better if you can lay a 1-story building out and then use the rest of that site for the parking and the travel lanes and, like I said, the interior traffic circulation. But I don't know the exact acreage of it, but there are acres of this site that are vacant today that could be permitted tomorrow for everything that's listed in the CGC2 land use category. Does that answer the question?
It does. So he could literally, the applicant can go and start this process immediately.
It could be permitted tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. With the, again, and I want to make sure that I read the application properly. Initially, the processing facility, which is no longer, was only 3,000 square feet. The move is to, from what I saw, move the entire facility to 110,000 square feet. I keep hearing warehouse storage, but that's not even going to be the majority of the property. Am I correct in understanding that the majority will still be the retail space, the same thing that currently occurs in the facility?
Through the chair, that is exactly correct. The bulk of the property is still intended to be commercial development. They have limited commercial area on the site right now because a lot of the building is taken up by the gigantic RC uniform facility, where I understand most people with private school children have to go for uniforms, and then a huge portion of it is taken up by that grocer. They have other interest in having the smaller retail that they want to be able to put on this site. So putting another basically single-story strip center like what is immediately in front of it that would have retail storefronts. And again, along the other 30,000 square foot addition, having retail storefronts, which is what we showed when we had the Planning Commission and we had architectural images and things like that to try to show how the animal processing part would have been insulated. But that storage warehousing component is just one part of it to allow more economic development for the site, but they really want to be able to do all of this other uses as well.
Got a couple more questions, if you can indulge me, Mr. Chair. The buffer at the back of the site next to the closest residence, there is still a buffer there, correct?
Yes, there's a traditional uncomplimentary land use buffer, which would be required between the Winn-Dixie on the south side or any other commercial development that is near residential development.
In looking at the application, as well as I also pulled the layout, the plat of that area, and I looked at it, and it seemed as though the current landowner that is closest to that facility has property that belongs to that current landowner, but they have a fence over that property. Does the applicant have an issue with that, and have they pushed that issue?
Through the chair, I'm not going to get into he said, she said, but my understanding is there was dispute.
Ma'am, or whoever.
I'm trying to get evidence.
Guys, I'm sorry that we can't do that. That's how things get out of hand. We're gonna let her speak, answer his questions. Thank you.
Through the chair, there was dispute regarding where the property line was at some point in time, and a survey was done, and the owner was told that they had to put up an uncomplimentary buffer with the fence and landscaping, so they put the fence on the property line. Their understanding is the current fence is on the current property line.
Okay. And let's see, I just want to make sure I get all the questions out. Are there any other activities that are planned at this point besides what's happening right now? Can you verify to me that there, besides what has been asked right now, or what's happening in there, which is, I think, food and flowers and clothes and other things, are there any other activities that are planned or that could possibly be planned? I know you can't, obviously we had a crystal ball, we could, predict everything. What are the plans currently besides what's happening right now, or is it just an expansion of what's there now?
It's an expansion of what is there now that would have shops, restaurants, like I said, goods, services, retail, restaurant, and then that storage warehouse component that they would like to be able to have on there as well. As far as other future uses, it would be controlled by the PUD and the uses that are delineated within it. And any change from that would require coming back into this body and having a whole new public hearing, because you can't add a use to a PUD administratively. That requires a full-blown rezoning. So this is the world that they can operate in, what is outlined in the written description, which is, again, less intense than the CCG2 that they could do on most of the site today. And if they asked for anything different than that, they would be back in front of you in a public hearing.
Thank you. Thank you. That ends my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. We have no other speakers in the queue. I just want to add a few of my questions, excuse me, which is, and I guess this could just be to the planning department. What is the most intensive use for CCG2, so to speak? I mean, I know like all of them are pretty intense. Ma'am, do it again and we're going to have to remove you. Don't do that. Thank you.
To the chair, so you can do like automotive sales, you can do all types of alcohol sales, so on-premises consumption, off-premises consumption. You can do nightclubs, you can do adult entertainment, small-scale warehousing operations by right, hotels, motels, boat yards, light manufacturing and processing. So these are all uses that you can do by right today.
Okay. And what about in the proposed PUD?
So within the proposed PUD, a lot of the uses are similar, but they are removing the more higher intense commercial uses. So all the alcohol-related uses are removed. Adult entertainment facilities are removed. And then also the option for nightclubs have been removed.
Okay. And then this next question is from Ms. Trimmer, if she will come on down. Simple question. Why did you remove the live animal processing portion of this?
After going through community meetings and hearing the feedback at Planning Commission, and we can all say that this is naivete, but we had all hoped that when folks saw that it wasn't a huge 30,000 square foot slaughterhouse, when they could see the floor plan and the architectural images and everything that the team put together, that they would see that it wasn't the order of magnitude and the scale, and that it really had protections and constraints built into this such that it would work within a community. And that did not pan out. That was not the case. There was continuing, ongoing concern. And then hearing concern from some of the planning commissioners, one of the things that resonated with the team was that even if they believed that all of the operation would go best possible scenario with all of the engineering protections and everything day to day, they just had concerns about the what if there was catastrophic failure of everything, what would happen? And you can't predict against an absolute worst case scenario. So the owners ultimately decided that when people weren't persuaded, when they had everything in front of them, that they didn't want to fight the fight anymore. They're not trying to be bad neighbors. They thought they had a good idea. I said it at Planning Commission, I'll say it here. There's a lot of people here in opposition. More people wanted that halal meat processing facility, just as many, but they were afraid to come out. And we don't want to drag a circus into here. So it just wasn't worth pursuing further. And in the interest of compromise, in the interest of being good neighbors, focus on just doing this lesser request.
Okay, understood. Guys, all right. So that, I just been under the impression the whole time that was the main concern. And then I think, when I saw that it was removed, like everyone else saw online, I kind of viewed that as a good thing, and thought that that's what the community was kind of saying the whole time. But then tonight, that's obviously not what we heard. But on our end, it's a tough spot because here's kind of what happens. If I say, and this is just me speaking to the community, if I say, I agree with the community, I'm going with them, I'm siding with district councilmen, and then we get sued in court, which we do all the time, and the taxpayers pay for that, and there's not competent substantial evidence, we would lose. We lose 9 times out of 10. So my question is, I have my pages of notes here, and so my question then to our attorney is, what notes have you taken for competent substantial evidence that maybe I didn't write down? Because I'm trying to make sure I have everything. For the approval, or no, for the denial, sorry.
To the chair, thank you very much. I can tell you at the beginning, Councilmember Diamond asked me a question as to kind of what substantial competent evidence was. I kind of talked about the fact that if it's lay testimony, it needs to be fact-based testimony about the community, about the neighborhood, about their properties and the like. Unlike other items that we've had come before the LUZ committee in the last couple months, where I've heard neighbors tell evidence. My property is 60 feet wide. I have an acre of property. I have a single family home on my property. I just wasn't hearing those types of facts being presented this evening. So my notes very much match yours to the chair.
So then walk me through the process of it gets denied, and then the applicant sues the city, and we've seen this, multiple times a year, but walk me through that situation, because you go to those hearings, or we send someone to those hearings, and you know that process.
Yeah, I've been involved in several writs of certiorari challenging rezoning, either approval or denial. And there are three bases for those being essentially upheld in court. One is, did you give them an opportunity to be heard, and was there notice? So, we've had a public hearing, we've had, notices go out, gave people an opportunity to speak. Two, did we apply the correct law? So did we apply the right criteria for a PUD rezoning? That would be the issue number two for the court to decide. And then the court's going to say, well, was there substantial competent evidence on the record? And the court's going to say, well, what was the fact-based testimony? What was the expert-based testimony? And determine whether we had evidence or not. So that would basically be in court, and then the court would rule whether, on any of those three things, whether we failed those. And then we're back to here, if we lose, explaining, how we couldn't uphold our decision.
So it comes back to us after the judge or whoever makes their decision for, okay. All right, I'm going to stop there. We got another couple of speakers in the queue to ask their questions, so I'll go through the queue now. Councilmember White, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'll be brief, but I want to get right to the point. And I heard the same thing you heard. I rode out there. I've been on the property. I've been at some folks' house. And all I heard was slaughterhouse. And I do not think the slaughterhouse was a fit. And that's a place I could have never got to. But then after pulling the slaughterhouse, I thought people would be pretty happy. And now to find out they just really don't want nothing there. And I think the gentleman, and I don't know him, not been out there, haven't ate out there, haven't taken no money from out there. But he wants to improve his property, and I thought the slaughterhouse was a win, and I will support it for that reason. I said it all along, the slaughterhouse is not the right thing. To develop your property probably is. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Diamond, you're recognized.
I just want to get the legal stuff correct, because I've heard us talking about competent substantial evidence, but through the chair to Dylan, I said the competent substantial evidence that I see in the record that this is not appropriate is the proximity of the residential to the proposed rezoning. And that would be competent substantial evidence on the record for denial. Is that fair to say? Is there a colorable argument that that's true?
Through the chair to Councilmember Diamond, I guess to me is the issue where the piece of property close to, and I can't read that small little writing sitting on here, but the close proximity currently of the CCG2 to the property may be an issue, and as a counterbalance to that point. But in terms of the evidence that I heard from the audience, again, it was more of a, we don't want this, we don't like animal processing, those types of things. I just wasn't hearing facts from the audience about.
Yeah, but through the chair, but that's not the test. The test is there's something in the record that's competent substantial evidence to support a denial. And when I look at the record, it includes the maps, it includes the current zoning, and I can see that there's residential right next to this. And that is competent substantial evidence in the record. It doesn't matter what anybody says. It's in the record. Is that fair to say through the chair?
Through the chair to Councilmember Diamond, yes, your maps in the Plan Department report are a part of the evidence for the record.
Okay. And then if we lose in court, right, if that happens, if they want to spend all the money to go to court, it just ends up right back here, right? I mean, the remedy is that we re-vote and redo this entire process. Isn't that fair to say?
Luckily, I've prevailed in all the ones, so I haven't had to come back to the city council.
That's how good you are. That's how much faith I have in you to get there. All right. I'll leave it there. I mean, I think it's there. Primarily residential right next to this. I think there's what we need in the record to support a denial. I don't think that if you want to hang your hat on a yes vote based on there being a lack of substantial competent evidence, that's not a legitimate argument.
Councilman Gaffney, you're recognized.
Thank you, through the chair. I think this kind of validates what I said in the beginning. You know, and I know you guys is opposed to this. Everybody don't want to defer it, but for the last 6 months, everybody been talking about the slaughterhouse, meat processing plant. Nobody have not focused on the commercial plant. Now that we got the commercial plant, now we're here discussing it, and now the neighbors are saying, well, we didn't think about that, you know. So I feel like it wasn't enough emphasis placed on the commercial units in the first place. We've been talking about the slaughterhouse, and now honestly, I think if we focus on not the residential, but the industrial and the commercial piece in the beginning, honestly, I think the community and the applicant would have came to a head by now. I think we could have probably reached a compromise by now. And, you know, now, like I said, I'm up here baffled in the middle, you know, because I'm just like you guys. I'm thinking when the meat processing plant was removed, the community would be upset, but they still have questions about the commercial use, and they still don't have their questions answered. You know, either way, we're going to have to make a decision tonight, and it's going to affect the residents or it's going to affect the applicant. You know, I'd rather get this right. I know y'all don't want to defer it, but it's just, and I get it why you don't want to defer it. We've been dealing with it the last 6 months. You know, at the end of the day, I just want what's best for everybody, you know. So I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I'll kind of, for me, I don't, look, I think they removed the one thing that we all heard was the main sticking point, and they did that, and then we're hearing a new, argument now, and I think we've all seen this up here before. We've all seen that, and I don't think a deferral changes the trajectory of this at all. I don't think that the community is wanting anything. I don't think they want that. They've made that very clear tonight. But that's just my inclination. I'm not going to be deferring it. They've all had multiple conversations. We've had the conversations, and then they pulled out the one thing that is on the t-shirts, and it's still not good enough. So that's where I'm at, and it's just kind of is what it is at this point. So we're ready to vote. We have no other speakers in the queue. So there has been a motion and a second to deny, correct? Okay, so all in favor of the denial, raise your hand. All right, we have 2. So the bill comes back. Oh, okay. All in opposed to deny, raise your hand. 4-2. The denial fails. All right. So now we need a motion on the amendment, but yeah, Councilman Gaffney, you recognize.
I hate to make things complicated, Chair Carlucci, but can I ask, have we closed the public hearing? Can I ask the constituent? Okay, so I want to ask the constituent one last question, and I promise I won't belabor the point. I know everybody tired, we're ready to go.
Go ahead.
The young lady, right? I'm not sure her name. And no, behind you.
Name and address.
Kim Robinson, 3180 Cortez Road.
Okay, Councilman Gaffney, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
1 second. You can answer his question.
Okay.
But go ahead, Councilman Gaffney.
Thank you for coming up. One of the things I didn't hear from the community tonight.
I can't hear you.
Okay, so
I'm hard of hearing.
Okay, so one of the things that I didn't hear from the community tonight, what is it that you guys want? I mean, we heard what you do not want. Nobody from the community say, hey, we'll meet you guys halfway if we do A, B, C, and D. I did not hear that from the community. I mean, everybody just say, no, 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 no. What is it that you guys want?
I provided 2 expert opinions that this was bad zoning and the PUD was incompatible. from Max Forgy and Tom Horowski, certified AICP planners, and that was submitted
It wasn't
via email. It
thank-
was. I did.
Thank you.
Okay.
I did, and I also presented hard copies at a meeting. 7 hard copies at an LUZ meeting. I did.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we'll go to Councilman Johnson, then we'll go to...
Ma'am, please don't leave. The question specifically, not what you did through the chair. What would you accept? What would you accept in that space?
Maintaining the 25-foot buffer is all I'm asking.
We understand that, but what would you accept in the space? What thing would you accept there?
In the space.
Yes, ma'am. Not the buffer, because we've already determined that. Is there a thing? Are there things that you're okay with being there? That was the question. Uses.
That I'm okay with?
Yeah, like what
Yes,
kind of a
ma'am.
business or a community center or type of business, what would you be okay
What
with?
kind of thing would you say this is acceptable for me or for this
thrift
community?
store. Community hospice had a thrift store there. Apartments.
But
I'm willing to donate the property when I die to the Jacksonville Land Trust because I have no heirs. But I don't know that I can do it now. But anyway.
Okay, thank you.
So that low-income families could have a place to live.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Councilmember Diamond, you're recognized.
So I can see where the vote is going here. So I'd like to propose an amendment.
So with that, we'll close the public hearing.
There we go. I'd like to propose an amendment. So I think something the neighbors are worried about is this new warehouse is going to just expand the meat processing that's already been happening there. And so I think a fair amendment would be that the existing meat or other food processing isn't going to be any bigger or expanded in any way than it is today. And I think that would be a rational way to find a middle ground here. So at least we're not going to have a massive increase in the size of food processing 10 feet away from a residential neighborhood. That seems to me, it's my motion, a new PUD condition. Obviously, the applicant would have to agree. That's the motion I make if I can get a second.
All right, we have a motion and a second from Councilmember Gaffney. And just to clarify, so are you talking about like the footprint of the actual processing equipment and stuff? Like kind of drill down on that because I think we're trying to understand.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have to go to Dylan on this.
Like they do it now and you want to make sure that they don't do any more.
Yeah, I mean, look, the risk of increasing the size of this warehouse space and adding all that is all of a sudden you go from whatever they have now, which they have a right to do, right, that exists, but not to dramatically expand it. So essentially limit the size, the footprint, we could case square footage of, I can do it by square footage, I'd be fine with that, of meat processing and food processing happening there to what is currently there.
And new
that is I'm just saying whatever in the PUD, like whatever the square footage is being used for meat processing, it can't get any bigger as a condition on the PUD.
Do you have a question, Councilman Gaffney? And then Ms. Trimmer, we will need to...
through the chair. I think what he's trying to say, so it's 150,000 square feet. 110, I'm sorry. How much of that 110 is commercial versus industrial? Maybe. If Ms. Trimmer, you can answer that, yeah.
Or the planning department, whoever. She's still kind of...
And I think Councilman Diamond kind of want to limit the industrial meat processing plant.
To the chair, I don't have an actual breakdown of the square footage of the site today. I just have the existing building versus the expansion of the proposed building, but I don't have an actual floor plan and this use.
Yeah. Understood. Oh, okay. Councilman Johnson, you're recognized.
While they're getting that information, I don't know that we could go, and Mr. Reingold, I know you're looking up other stuff, but legally, I don't know that we can go in and start tinkering with the stuff that's inside if they're already doing, because here's the danger I see, Mr. Chair. If we go in, and right now I'm assuming it's 1,000 square feet, I'm going to just make it up from what I saw. If you go in and see that, and they need to And I looked at it, and I went out back. I didn't know I was there, and then, I went once by myself, and I saw what they were doing. It was just like I was going to Winn-Dixie or Publix or whoever else does butchering, or, Carol's Meat Shop. But what if they need to put an additional, I don't know, counter to do whatever cuts that people need? I don't want to get into us policing kind of almost in this business when it's something that's been going on there right now. I don't know that this prohibition it doesn't seem logical to me. Can we do that, Mr. Reingold, especially if it's happening there right now?
I'll let Mr. Reingold answer that, and then we'll hear from Ms. Trimmer.
Yeah, so through the chair to Councilmember Johnson. So, I could theoretically understand a condition that was something like, there shall be no more than X number of square feet of blank on the subject property. That would be certainly acceptable. I think in the context here it would just be interesting as to how we figure out where that's located or where that limitation is, and just make sure also that the applicant is okay with that and that the applicant and the plan department understand it. What I heard so far on the amendment was just simply the existing meat and food processing shall essentially be limited to where it is today. Is it? Okay.
And real quick, how many square footage do they have today?
Through the chair, I don't know off the top of my head what portion of the grocery is the meat department, which includes a butcher on site today. I just don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. Okay.
But in response to Councilman Diamond's proposal and through the chair, a butcher is something that you can do in a commercial area. We have one of the most prominent ones in town on Hendricks in San Marco that is a beloved local facility that is not at all incompatible with the surrounding area. So I'm not really sure what we're trying to get at when we're saying restricting the processing part of it. Again, not trying to be disingenuous, not saying processing means killing anything. But if they wanted on one of those retail storefronts to have another butcher storefront for some reason, that's something they should be permitted to do. There's no reason they can't do that. Nothing about that is inappropriate for a commercial area. And CCG2 and CCG1 would both permit that. So I'm uncomfortable committing to something like that because I just don't understand the reasoning behind it. If the concern is if you're going to bring more animals onto the site to process the meat at a larger scale, if you wanted to say that portion of the business, if they choose that that'll be part of their commercial expansion, can't be more than 10,000 square feet, we know that's more than enough to get done whatever they might do in that area. Less than that, I would have to have an architect lay things out if they were going to try, and I just don't know the answer to that. But if you wanted to put a 10,000 square foot limitation on meat processing on the site, and that alleviates some of the concerns about what can happen in the 30,000 square foot building, then that's something that we can agree to.
Okay, Councilman Diamond, you're recognized.
I'm not going to have the votes to get the limit I want. The applicant's willing to give 10,000 limit. I'll amend my amendment to 10,000 for that purpose and just leave it there. I'll take that as the only win I'm going to get out of this committee tonight.
All right, do we have a second? All right, motion and a second on the amendment to the amendment, limiting the square footage for food processing to 10,000 square feet. Is that meat processing? Is that right, Mr. Reingold?
So what I heard was there shall be no more than 10,000 square feet of meat processing on the subject property. Is that the thing? Ms. Trimmer Ms. Trimmer just shouted out that she is agreeable to that.
Okay.
So that's where we landed on that.
Okay, Councilman White, are you on the amendment to the amendment? Okay, all in favor of the amendment to the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. Now we're on the Diamond. Okay. Well, we have other amendments. Is that correct? We need to first move the amendment of the written description. That does actually what we're trying. the whole thing.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of wrap them all up at the end. So if we want to now have a final vote on the Diamond Amendment as amended, then we can go to the traditional.
Okay, got it. Understood. You got something on the actual bill, or you have it on
Something I might want to add. I want to ask Ms. Trimmer whenever the.
Is this another amendment?
Yes.
Okay, so let's vote on Councilman Diamond's amendment. We already voted to amend his amendment. All in favor of Councilmember Diamond's amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. Now we have one amendment. We're going to roll these up at the end into an LUZ amendment. Councilmember White, you're recognized.
Ms. Trimmer, the property surrounding the single-family property, what's that buffer, 10 foot? And what kind of buffer? Is it a natural buffer or is it a fence?
Through the chair, it's the city's standard commercial buffer between a commercial property and a residential property, which is a minimum 6 foot tall, 85% opaque fence, and then a 10-foot landscape strip, which includes specific plantings. It has to include trees in certain areas. And then in addition to that buffer, we have a sidewalk behind the building before you get to a property line.
I don't know if that person that owns that property is here tonight.
Yes, that was the woman that was just up and spoke.
Okay, I would just maybe an 8-foot fence, or maybe she wants to. I would like to try to get her where she needs to be with a different, little bit bigger buffer, or keep the Is there a natural buffer there now? Because somebody said don't cut trees.
Through the chair, there are trees on that. My concern with saying natural buffer is sometimes trees die in construction. But if the committee wanted to require that there be a minimum 8-foot tall fence along the residential property line, that's not a problem.
Ma'am, 8-foot fence would be better for you? I know she's hard of hearing. Come on up. Would
name and address?
Kimberly Robinson, 3180 Cortez.
Ms. Robinson, would an 8-foot fence make you feel a little bit better?
No. She's talking about a 60-foot building, a 60-foot tall building.
All right, I was trying to help you
I would like
out.
to maintain some of the trees that are there because it makes it nice. It makes a very cohesive coexistence for both of us. We've gotten along up until April, till he said the vagrants were going to burn my house down.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I have no amendment.
Okay, got it.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
No, ma'am, I'm sorry.
No? Okay.
It's okay. All right. No, one second. Councilmember Diamond, are you going to move the actual amendment?
Yeah, I would definitely want to move the the written description, which includes removing the live animal processing. So move the amendment.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the revised written description that removes the live animal processing. Any discussion on that amendment? All right, seeing none, all in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. All right, so we have, do we roll these up right now, Mr. Reingold?
To the chair, I have heard from you that you would like these to be rolled up as one LUZ amendment.
Okay, so we're going to vote on the bill as amended twice, rolled up into the, well, right, I was getting there. All right. The LUZ amendment. So with that, we can open the ballot and record your votes.
Four yeas, 2 nays.
By your action, you have approved 2025-488 as amended. All right, moving. What? Oh, Councilman Carrico. Yes, sir. Sorry, you're recognized. I didn't see you there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted OGC to explain to everyone who's still here what that last vote did in reference to being able to have a slaughterhouse on Beach Boulevard.
Through to the chair, to the council president, there is no slaughterhouse allowed on the subject property.
All right. Thank you, sir. And thank you for all the constituents for hanging around and being a part of the vote. I know it can get confusing there toward the end, what's in, what's out. But at the end of the day, you saw what your voice coming out brings, which is action. And now your neighborhood will not have this use that you did not want. And as I say that, I do want to say thanks to the team over there at APNA. They've been really, really good to work with. Whenever we called a community meeting, they were there, willing to work. picking up a phone call anytime there's a conversation to be had. So just want to thank you guys for that, for being good stewards in the community. And I think ultimately the community that showed up got what they wanted. Thank you guys.
Councilmember Diamond, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to give a shout out to the council president. That was a tough one. Showed great leadership and way to jump out there and get it done.
Okay. We are going to go ahead and keep moving through the agenda here. And item number 5, 2025-627. Let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. Ordinance 2025-627 is for a small-scale land use amendment of 5.35 acres, which is a portion of 5713 Moncrief Road between Rowe Avenue and Rutledge Avenue. The portion of the parcel that fronts Moncrief is designated as Community General Commercial, CGC, so that is not subject to this amendment. But the portion that sits more within the residential that's adjacent to the Moncrief corridor is medium-density residential. The applicant seeks a land use amendment from MDR, medium-density residential, to CGC, Community General Commercial, to develop a commercial business park. The site is within the 45th and Moncrief Neighborhood Action Plan, which was adopted in 2004. The site is identified in the plan as a long-term housing opportunity district. The opportunity identified in the plan for the area includes infill development and providing affordable housing to existing renters and new residents. Staff finds that the proposed land use amendment to CGC would intrude approximately 400 feet into the residential area. For these reasons and others outlined in the staff report, the Planning Department forwards a recommendation of denial. The Planning Commission heard the item at their September 18th meeting with commissioners' knowledge of the surrounding area, along with testimony from the applicant. The commission concluded that the proposed land use amendment was appropriate for the area. They unanimously recommended approval with a vote of 6-0. Thank you.
Councilmember Carrico, are you still here? Try to sneak out on us. I know. Can you stay like another 30 minutes? Oh, there we go. Okay. Woo! It's fine. Yeah, if you need to, you send in your earlier. Yeah, you're good. Yep, you're good. Now we're good. Maybe. All right. Yes. All right. All right. Yep. So we're going to go ahead and go to the speaker cards. We have 2 speaker cards. First, Mr. Herzberg. Come on down.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you very much. My name is Mike Herzberg. My address is 12483 Aladdin Road. I have a handout that I think has come around your way, and as staff indicates, this is somewhat like the last application in that the commercial parcel is sought to being extended. This parcel is bifurcated with a land use line, so about 7 acres of property here, 7.5 acres of property, about 2.14 of it already CGC, CCG2. There is no reason or no logical reason why that land use line was drawn through this property in this fashion. So the front half is carrying the most intensive commercial designation in the city of Jacksonville. The remaining back 5 acres were multifamily designated according to the comp plan. Again, no real logical reason from a planning standpoint. And as a commercial developer, I'd point out it's probably the narrow nature of these commercial parcels that really preclude these parcels from being utilized. There's a number of vacant spaces along here, vacant offices along here, vacant buildings. They really don't have the depth necessary to accommodate a commercial, especially with the requirements of the city of Jacksonville for commercial uses in relation to parking and landscaping. The property is within the urban priority area. That's obviously an important designation in the comprehensive plan. It's also in the Northwest Jacks Economic Development Fund area and the Myrtle Moncrief Avenue B Corridor Improvement Program, both programs that are seeking to bring about jobs, bringing about investment, bringing about commercial tax base to the area, to help increase the opportunity for jobs and positions. I'd also point out that the property is within the city's brownfield area. Brownfield is not an area where you want to encourage new residential development. So that designation right there kind of postures it in a manner that is not appropriate for residential development. You might have remembered a project that I did up recently in a area that was also a brownfield, which again was not seen fit for the intensification of a multifamily use there. Both Leo Street and Roseanne Street, if you look at the second page, you'll see the red lines coming in from the right. Those are roadways on paper only. In other words, those roadways have never been opened. So there really is no residential development proximate to this or behind this. There's no way to get to those lots. So again, that area back there really isn't residential in use. It's residential in map designation only. And while the staff report clearly recognizes the CGC and the CZG2 uses, I think what they're missing is the fact that this brownfield property, that the JEA services are available here, that really what we're talking about, and we'll get to it in the zoning side, is that this is potential for a relocation of an existing operation, a headquarters for a business to move into this area, creating jobs and tax base. I won't go through the individual criteria or objectives and policies, but they are on the last page for your review pertinent to this application. Thank you, sir.
Okay, next we have Samantha Series.
Samantha Series, address on file. I'm just a little confused about what is being proposed here. So just going to put my 2 cents in. So the community general commercial is a category intended to provide for a wide variety of retail goods and services which serve large areas of the city and a diverse set of neighborhoods. The proposed amendment to CGC intrudes into a well-established residential area with single-family residences surrounding the site to the north, east, and south. The dominant use west of the site across Moncrief Road is also single-family residential. Extending the CGC land use eastward does not represent a compatible land development pattern for this area. Thus, the proposed change from MDR to CGC land use is in conflict with Objective 1.1 and Objective 3.1. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. All right, we have a motion and a second on the bill. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, open the ballot, record your vote.
Yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-627. Moving on to item number 2025-628. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is the companion PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0628, which is seeking to rezone 7.49 acres from RLD 60 and CCG2 to a PUD to expand the commercial footprint of the site to allow for warehousing and light industrial type uses. The subject property is located along Moncrief Road, which is a collector roadway. The east side of Moncrief Road is a mix of commercial uses, which then transitions to residential uses, including single-family subdivisions which surround the eastern portion of the site. The department does not find that the proposed rezoning to be appropriate or compatible with the surrounding area, as the proposed PUD would be expanding those commercial uses further from Moncrief Road into an established residential area. Directly northeast and southeast of the subject site are single-family homes, which today are significantly buffered from the commercial uses. The proposed application will now expand those commercial space, leaving a minimal buffer and no transition between the heavy commercial uses and the residential uses. Staff has reviewed the request and does not find it to be consistent with the comprehensive plan or further the goals and objectives of the comp plan. Approval of the rezoning would not allow for that gradual transition and appropriate buffering. So because of these reasons and those in the staff report, we forward a recommendation of denial. The application was heard by Planning Commission on September 18th, where there were no speakers in opposition. The Commission had no concerns for the proposed development, with the removal of a few uses and limitations on the proposed height of structures along the Rutledge Avenue right-of-way. One of the commissioners did live within the general area and felt that the proposed uses would be appropriate for the area. So after that discussion, they ultimately voted unanimously to approve the rezoning with the 3 conditions listed in your agenda.
All right. With that, we will go to our first speaker, Mr. Mike Hersberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and I appreciate the staff report. I think really what we propose in this PUD, much like the other one that the department had recommended approval for, cuts out really most of the intensive CCG2 uses. There are no liquor uses allowed here. There's no adult entertainment. The liquor is already provided by our immediate neighbor, the Edgewood Liquor Store, the Moncrief Liquor Store, which is right next to us there, just to the north of us along Moncrief. So the area really kind of needs jobs. The area needs these employment opportunities. And really a component of this PUD actually allows people to be their own owner or their own operator. So part of the layout and design here orients the buildings in such a fashion so that everything is inward, not outward towards the residents on either side, but back into the center of the property. It would allow users such as folks with landscape companies, individuals with screen enclosure companies, to have a space that they could locate their offices and their operations indoors, protected and safe. Really, it kind of combines the opportunity for these folks who otherwise probably couldn't afford the rents on a much larger piece or on a much larger building, but allows those smaller scale uses who live and work in the community to have a place to call home. I would point out that the buffer is actually twice what the last PUD's buffer was. This is actually a 20-foot buffer on the northerly boundary. And there was some discussion, as staff pointed out, about the height of the buildings. The maximum height of these structures is 35 feet. They'll probably come in closer to 31 feet after speaking with the property buyer. But even sitting down with the neighbors, and Councilmember Pittman was kind enough to work with us. We had a community meeting just last week where after full discussion and an hour or so of discussion, the community actually indicated that they believe this would be a positive thing for their community. As a matter of fact, they believe it would help a new coffee shop that's looking to open up there on the corner at Rowe, corner of Rowe and Moncrief. Obviously, this would bring about numerous people that would be looking for coffee as they come and go or are in their offices. Also, staff pointed out the roadway here. We're dealing with a collector roadway. We've got 4 lanes, 2 in each direction. And really, we're only about 41% of capacity, so there's no threats or traffic impacts. There are bus stops at either side of the property. So again, people that would be working here could take the bus to work, walk right up. Again, I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I think as a professional planner, this is an appropriate location for these types of uses, would offer jobs and a tax base, which is what those other designations are looking for in this area. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next, we have Amanda Series. Sorry. Samantha Series. I tried to not look at the card because just gotten so familiar with your name, but not familiar enough, I guess.
No problem. Samantha Series, address on file. I'm glad to hear that the buffer was extended and that the height is, a max of 35, so I appreciate that. I just don't know if a PUD is appropriate. Obviously, I think this is going to move forward, so I am glad that the developer has been working with the community. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, we have no other speakers. Let's close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. All right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment with conditions. Can someone please explain the amendment with the conditions?
Sure. So there are 3 conditions. The first is that linen supply, freight movers, business, machine services, service and repair of general appliances and small engines, and mobile car detailing services shall be prohibited. The second condition is that sign companies shall be limited to a maximum of 5,000 square feet of gross floor area. And the third condition is that the east side of the buildings along Rutledge Avenue shall be limited to a maximum of 20 feet in height. I would like to just ask again, I reached out to the applicant. I didn't know if it made sense to clarify condition number 2 so that it was sign manufacturing companies were what the limitation was on. And then my question on the third item was just how far back is the 20-foot height limit? Like how far do they have to go back from the property line before they can go up? Those are just questions both for staff and for Mr. Herzberg.
Through the chair, if I might, Mr. Chairman, address that. I would have no objection to sign companies as stated in your proposal, and I do apologize for not getting back to you sooner with that. But that last condition is one that we would seek to remove here. It was actually imposed at Planning Commission. There were some concerns about what the people would see from the Rutledge property. In speaking with the woman that lives right there at the corner of Rutledge and Moncrief at the community meeting last weekend, We explained to her that there will be a fence around the property, and then she would see the roof. This will be a pitched roof, not a flat roof. She would see the pitch of the roof, just like a house would look on one side of a fence. So she's on the opposite side of the street in her single-family home. She would be looking across, seeing a fence, and then the pitch or the upslope of a roof, just as though there were another home on that property, not being any taller than would be allowed in the residential district. Upon that discussion with her, she had no more concerns, so we would ask to remove that condition at this proceeding. Thank you.
And that was number 3?
Correct, sir.
Okay. All right. So how, Mr. Reingold, put us in the posture then if we wanted to remove number 3 and then add the sign manufacturing companies? Is that what you said?
So I heard an amendment in second. I just want to, if I have the motion maker of it, clarify. So if the motion maker is agreeable with Mr. Herzberg's proposal, condition number 1 would stay the same. Condition number 2 would simply just say sign manufacturing companies shall be limited, ... And then number 3rd condition would disappear. Yeah. Okay, so I heard from the maker that was the amendment. Is there still a second on that?
Yep.
Okay, so we still got a motion and second on that, and Mr. Herzberg agreed with those conditions.
Okay, great. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. All right, we have motion and second on the bill as amended. No discussion. Open the ballot. Record your vote.
Four yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025 628.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you, sir. Item number 7, 2025 630. Open the public hearing. No speaker cards. We'll continue this public hearing until 12/2/25. Item number 8, 2025 674. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. 2025-674 seeks to rezone 0.48 acres of land from CCGS and PUD to a new PUD to permit for a veterinarian office with an integrated dog park and bar. The existing PUD permitted for a brewery, and the site was used as Main and Six Brewing. The property is located along Main Street in the Springfield Historic District. Staff finds the proposed uses to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and compatible with the surrounding area. For those reasons and those in the staff report, we forward a recommendation of approval. This item was heard at the November 6th Planning Commission meeting. There were no speakers in opposition, and the board voted unanimously for approval.
All right, we have one speaker card, Ms. Cindy Trimmer. Questions only this time, or?
Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 12, Houghton Hundred, on behalf of the applicant. This is to allow for reuse of the prior Main and Six historically hoppy facility to now use it more like a brew hound and develop a veterinarian in the middle space, and then that outdoor that was all surface parking and kind of grass parking to make that an outdoor dog park. We have a letter of support from SPAR. We've worked closely with them on the project. If there are no speakers in opposition, I will stand by for questions.
Okay, we have no other speaker cards. Let's go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to committee for the amendment. All right, we have a motion and second on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? Are you on? Okay, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. All right, motion and second on the bill as amended. Councilmember Diamond, you're recognized.
Through the chair, Ms. Trimmer, I'm so excited to support this application. Please bring more things where we have dog parks. Thank you.
I was going to say it. I was like, man, everyone knows the trick to get Rory Diamond to support your bill. Just add dog park in there. All right, let's. We have no other speakers in the queue. We have a motion and second on the bill as amended. Let's open the ballot. Record your vote.
Four yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-674. Item number 9, 2025-675. Let's open the public hearing. No speaker cards. We'll continue this public hearing until 12/2/25. Oh, we do have. Which one is this? Oh, 675. Okay, got it. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and go through the speaker cards. Catherine Del Rey, I believe, has left. She opposes. Kathleen Pereira does not wish to speak and opposes. And then we have Samantha Series.
Samantha Series, address on file. I just want to make sure this is being continued to 12/2, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I just want to say I oppose. I won't go into the whole thing. Thank you.
All righty. This public hearing is continued until 12/2/25. Item number 10, 2025-724 is deferred. Item number 11 has already been taken up. Item number 12 has already been taken up. Item number 13, 2025-753. Open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. Ordinance 2025-753 is for a small-scale land use amendment to change approximately 0.11 of an acre from public buildings and facilities, PBF, to LDR, low-density residential, in the urban development area at 0 Veronica Street, south of Cypress Street, and east of Edgewood Avenue within Murray Hill. The property is located on a cul-de-sac at the end of Veronica Street, where all other surrounding properties on the street are designated as LDR. The proposed amendment to LDR would result in a land use pattern that is compatible with the surrounding residential development. For these reasons and those outlined in the staff report, the Planning Department forwards a recommendation of approval. At their November 6th meeting, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval with a vote of 6-0 and no discussion. Thank you.
All right, we have one speaker, Mr. Chris Middlebrooks. Questions only. Supports the bill. So we will, no questions, close the public hearing, bring it back to committee. Motion and second on the bill. Open the ballot, record your vote.
4 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-753. Item number 14, 2025-754. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. 2025-754 seeks to rezone 0.11 acres from a PUD to RLD 60 to permit the development of a single-family dwelling. The current PUD was enacted in 1993 to permit the expansion of the Florida Christian Center and Apartments, which is located along Edgewood Avenue in the Murray Hill neighborhood. The subject site is a lot of record along Veronica Street that was included in the original PUD but was never developed. Staff finds the request to RLD 60 to meet the criteria for rezoning is compatible with the surrounding area, which is also zoned RLD 60, and forwards recommendation of approval. The item was heard at the November 6th Planning Commission meeting, and they voted unanimously for approval.
Okay, we have one card, Chris Middlebrooks, questions only in support. With that, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Motion and second on the bill, no one in the queue. Open the ballot, record your votes.
4 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-754. Item number 15, we've already taken up. Item number 16, 2025-756. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
2025-756 seeks to rezone 6.35 acres from CCG2 to a PUD to permit the continuation and expansion of the Gateway Community Services Campus located along Stockton Street and Edison Avenue just north of I-10. The business includes a private nonprofit drug and alcohol rehabilitation agency that offers services including detoxification, outpatient treatment programs, and transitional housing. The PUD is being sought due to a proposed expansion of the site, including a portion of Osceola Street that was recently closed and abandoned under Ordinance 2025-401. Staff finds the proposed rezoning to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and forwards a recommendation of approval. Further analysis and details of the recommendation can be found in the staff report. The item was heard at the November 6th Planning Commission meeting, and the board voted unanimously for approval.
Okay, we have one speaker, Mr. Hayden Phillips.
Good evening, Hayden Phillips, 1301 River Place Boulevard. This is a live animal processing facility.
I'm sorry, I think your card said questions only.
I'm joking. Please erase that from the record. But we do welcome dogs. This is Gateway Community Services. In the unlikely event that you're unfamiliar, they are a drug and alcohol rehab center. They've been operating in this location for many decades and are a valuable cornerstone of our city, providing a variety of thankless, important services to our community. And they're growing, which is great. They have a planned redevelopment and expansion. And so last year, we actually closed a portion of Osceola Street which is a right-of-way sort of going down the middle of their property. They owned the real estate on both sides, and so that enabled the formulation of the site plan that is before you, and now we are at the rezoning stage. It's going to be a great addition to their campus. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We have no other speaker cards. Let's close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Motion is second on the bill. No one in the queue. Let's open the ballot. Record your vote.
Four yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-756. Item number 17, 2025-757. Open the public hearing. No speaker cards. We'll continue this public hearing until 757. We're going to continue that public hearing until 12/2/25. Item number 18, 2025-758. This one is actually going to be up for withdrawal. I got a notification from the applicant that they want to withdraw this application, so that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, to the chair, the only recommendation I would have, since it's open public hearing tonight, is if there's anyone specifically who wants to speak on the withdrawal request.
Okay. There's no one here on the withdrawal. There's no one here on the bill either, so we just need a motion on... open the public hearing. We have two speaker cards, but they're not on the withdrawal. They're not here. So close the public hearing, and we will get a motion on the withdrawal in a second. No one in the queue. Open the ballot, record your vote on the withdrawal.
Four yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have withdrawn 2025-758. Item number 19, 2025-759. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0759, which is seeking to rezone approximately 16 acres from a PUD that was approved in 2023 to a new PUD in order to update signage regulations for the Cornerstone Classical Academy. The 2023 PUD was approved with 6 conditions. 4 of those we are still recommending forwarding on to the new PUD. They were related to roadway access, traffic studies, queuing and monitoring reports, and some lighting regulations. But 2 of those conditions are related to signage, which have been addressed within the new PUD. They allow the property to clarify that the existing monument sign on the property may be rebuilt or replaced in its current location, as long as it's not enlarged or moved further within the right-of-way, and that wall signage would be permitted according to Part 13 and not just limited to one wall sign on the entirety of the property. Again, nothing else is changing within the PUD except for the signage update. We find the request consistent and compatible, meets internal and external criteria, so therefore we forward a recommendation of approval with those 4 conditions listed in your agenda. Application was heard by Planning Commission November 6th. There were no speakers in opposition, little discussion, and they voted unanimously for approval with those same 4 conditions.
All right. With that, we will go to our one speaker card, Ms. Cindy Trimmer.
Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200, on behalf of the applicant. Take it easy on me. I'm covering for Mike Sittner, who had a baby yesterday. All wonderful news.
Was it a boy or a girl?
A boy named Sutton, and mom and baby are doing great.
Cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I'm without him for the next month. Please pray for me. But on this application, it's just to correct the signage provisions of the PUD. They're actually the provisions that were approved in the original Planning Commission, and there was just an issue getting through translating to LUZ. So unfortunately, nobody realized it until way after the fact. But the signage is shown there. It's completely consistent with the area and appropriate, so we would appreciate your support.
All right. With that, we have no other speaker cards. We'll close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. All right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment with conditions. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. The amendment carries. Second. All right, we have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Open the ballot, record your vote. Right. You having second thoughts over there?
4 yeas, 0 nays.
And by your action, you've approved 2025-759.
Thank
Item
you so
number 20. Yep. Item number 2025-760. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is conventional rezoning ordinance 2025-0760, which is seeking to rezone 4 acres from CRO to CN in order to allow for additional signage that is restricted under the current zoning district of CRO. Both zoning districts will allow for the intended use of the property, which is a medical clinic. However, the CRO district imposes stricter limitations on the size of monument street signs and wall signs. The subject property is located in the Renew Arlington CRA and overlay. It was heard by their advisory board on October 8th, and they voted unanimously to approve the rezoning. We find the rezoning meets all the criteria as evaluated within the staff report, and the proposed signage will meet the requirements of the overlay, so we forward a recommendation of approval. Was heard by Planning Commission on November 6th. No speakers in opposition, little discussion, and they voted unanimously for approval.
Okay, thank you. With that, we will go to our only speaker card, Mr. Hayden Phillips.
Thank you. Hayden Phillips, 1301 River Place Boulevard. Stand by everything that Aaron just stated. This is a simple one. The use, a medical clinic, is actually already permitted by right and under construction. This is simply for signage only. The rezoning will allow slightly more permissive signage, which will then be capped by the overlay. The Renew Arlington Advisory Board had no issues. Here for questions. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Motion is second on the bill. No one in the queue. Open the ballot. Record your vote.
Okay. 4 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-760. All right, item number 21, 2025-761. Open the public hearing. No speaker cards. We'll continue this public hearing until 12/2/25. The following items are deferred with a public hearing next cycle on 12/2/25. So the following bills are deferred: 2025-798, 799, 800, 801, 802, 803, 804, and 821. And then the following bills are on second reading: 2025, 823, 824, 825, 826, 827, 828, 829, 830, 831, 832, and 845, which is when we're ending this meeting. How sick is that? Dude, that is... Oh, we got to take a picture. All right, anyways, that was so cool. All right, this meeting's adjourned.
Nice work.
We ended on 8:45 at 8:45. So cool.